Pokémon, the story of Yu. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151 Ibrahimovic, I will train quietly and surprise everyone. Flame Horse, relax completely. Just like you usually use Sunlight Flame, accumulate energy. Only this time, you don't need to burst it out immediately. Instead, concentrate it completely on the horn on your head, and then chop it down with force. Akala Island Big Beach. Yu gently instructed Flame Horse. During this period, he and Land Mantis lived together, and borrowed Mamane's computer and the information given by Dr. Kiku to simulate the data of the Sunlight Blade. After careful analysis, the principle of the Sunlight Blade was basically clear. As expected, the Sunlight Blade is essentially a transformation of Sunlight Flame. So although they are two different tricks, they are very similar. It's just that the power is concentrated, and then it changes from spraying out to holding it in the hand. So learning Sunlight Flame is equivalent to learning half of the Sunlight Blade. Then, it is a matter of continuous practice. Flame Horse nodded firmly. This week, it has been learning from Land Mantis and listening to Yu's explanation. It feels that its brain has completely learned it. Bathed in the warm sunshine, Blazebrook's flaming mane trembled, and its whole body was shining with golden light, as if it was a celestial horse descending from heaven. The horn on its head absorbed the scorching sunlight, and a beam of light quickly formed on the horn, exuding a different breath. Is it going to succeed? So fast? Lily, who was free today, looked at this scene and opened her mouth in surprise. The book clearly said that Sunlight Blade is the exclusive move of Land Mantis. Blazebrook, can it learn it so quickly? Is it so easy for a fire-type Pokémon to learn a grass-type move? Yu was full of expectations, watching the beam of light gradually condensing on Blazebrook's horn. Although Sunlight Flame and Sunlight Blade are grass-type moves, their energy source is sunlight, so Blazebrook, a fire Pokémon, will not be slow to learn. The Flame Horse absorbed the sunlight crazily, and an extremely huge lightsaber crossed the sky, full of shocking and depressive feeling. Then the head was about to fall, but before it fell, the light column condensed by the Flame Horse exploded first, and it didn't go out, but fell on the Flame Horse. Flame Horse, are you okay? Yu immediately ran over to show concern. The Flame Horse shook its head, indicating that it was okay. It was a fire Pokémon, and the sunlight and flames could not hurt it, not to mention that it was its own condensed power. It was just that Yu wanted to make himself practice this trick so seriously, but he didn't succeed, and he felt a little frustrated. Obviously I understand it, my brain knows it, right? Why can't I use it with my body? It's good that you are okay, keep practicing. If it doesn't work once, try 10 times. If it doesn't work 10 times, try 100 times. All powerful Pokémon are practiced. Yu comforted him. He expected to succeed today, but it was just expectation. To be honest, he was not very confident, and he still needed to practice more. The Flame Horse nodded solemnly. If it didn't work once, try again. Just like practicing the sunlight and flames before, it would always succeed. Buai, the little Eevee on the side, looked at the training of Flame Horse in a daze, showing a puzzled expression. Is this trick powerful? Why is Flame Horse brother and Yu's father so serious? If Eevee learns it, will Yu's father praise me? Let me eat all the desserts. Little Eevee tilted his head and drooled when he thought of that scene. The Overlord Land Mantis, who rarely left the place, looked at the crystals flowing out of Eevee, silently retreated, kept a distance from Eevee, and looked at the little Eevee with a strange look. What's wrong with this little brother? Why is he drooling? Is it because he is too young to control himself? I heard that those small animals can't control their own urination and defecation when they are just born. Thinking of this, the Overlord Land Mantis took a big step and kept a distance from the little Eevee. Buai Eevee looked at Land Mantis, who suddenly retreated, with doubts in his eyes. What's wrong with Sister Land Mantis? Doesn't it know that it's delicious? That's right, it's a half plant, half animal Pokémon, more like a plant than an animal. It can directly use photosynthesis to restore its physical strength, so it doesn't need to eat. Because photosynthesis is the same as eating. Hey, little Evie's eyes suddenly lit up, and he looked at Lan Mantis with shining eyes. Yu's father said that children can't eat too many snacks, otherwise they won't be able to eat, and they won't grow tall or big. But plants don't eat, but they grow very tall. It's called photosynthesis. Xiaoxu's mother said that this is equivalent to eating. If I learn it, can I eat dessert instead of eating in the future? And it is said that photosynthesis feels very comfortable. If I learn it, as long as there is sunlight, can't I eat anytime and anywhere? Thinking of this, little Evie showed a cute smile and approached Lan Mantis. It decided that it would secretly learn this sunlight blade and photosynthesis and then surprise everyone. But Lan Mantis obviously didn't understand what Evie was thinking. On the contrary, Evie's approach made Lan Mantis take another step back. This little brother has a problem. Booey. Evie tilted his head in confusion. What's wrong with this little sister? Am I not cute? Backquote. It still doesn't work. Sunlight Blade is a special move that only Lantern can learn. It's unique. Flamahorn is not even a grass type Pokémon. How can it be possible to learn Sunlight Blade that many grass type Pokémon can't learn? Mao said. Her Pokémon is a grass type Sweet Bamboo. She loves grass type Pokémon and knows the most about grass type Pokémon. If you don't try, how do you know if it works? I believe that as long as you work hard with Pokémon, there is nothing you can't do. Xiaoxu retorted. But the special moves that Pokémon can learn are generally limited by its own race and attributes. Just like no matter how powerful Magikarp is, it can't fly. Xiaoxu's companion Xiaojian expressed a different opinion. After Xiaogang left, Xiaojian took over Xiaogang's responsibilities and became the eldest brother and the most reliable person in Xiao's trio. It is especially worth mentioning that, since Xiaojian joined the team, Xiaozhi and his friends have not lost their way. But Flamahorse can also learn the grass type Sun Blade, so why can't it learn the grass type Solar Blade? Are Pokémon infinitely possible? I believe that, as long as we are with Pokémon, no matter what difficulties we face, we can overcome them. Xiaozhi said passionately. Whether we can overcome them or not is another matter, but Xiaozhi, Yu is already so strong, and he is still training Pokémon. What about you? Xiao Misty said to Xiaozhi, who was dressed casually. I don't know if it's an illusion, but since coming to Alala, she feels like Xiaozhi has returned home. No, it's more natural than returning to Pallet Town. Completely liberating his nature. No, I want to do independent training too. Xiaozhi said. Don't give me that. Xiao Misty said in disbelief. Independent training. Said independent training before the Quartz conference, and then didn't train for 3 months. Played for 3 months, and stopped in the quarterfinals of the Quartz conference. Xiaoxi looked at Xiaoxu's unbelieving expression, not knowing whether he was guilty or something, and stood up with a heroic spirit, and then released all the Pokémon except Snorlax. Running training. Today's small goal is to run the entire Akala Island. Chapter 152. Skull Team Guzma. When you are immersed in something, time always flies fast. Soon the sun sets, the golden afterglow falls on the sea, and a red sun sets in the west. Flamahorse sticks out his tongue weakly. He is really exhausted from practicing the Sunlight Blade today. He feels that he has no physical strength at all. Okay, today's training ends here. Go back and have a good rest, and continue tomorrow. Yu took out the orange fruit that Flamahorse likes to eat, and fed it to Flamahorse. Flamahorse ate the sweet and sour orange fruit, showing a trace of joy, and then walked towards Xiaoxu. Xiaoxu, who had prepared everything long ago, raised her cuffs, and gave Flamahorse an artificial massage, to relieve the fatigue after a day of training. If not, it would be difficult to maintain tomorrow's training. This is why powerful trainers often have a dedicated breeder around them. Then let's go. Go back and eat. Lily, holding the Vulpix egg, said. After watching Yu train for a while, everyone dispersed and found something they like to do. After all, watching Yu train, how boring it is. Only Lilia stayed with Vulpix's egg. Yu and the other two turned back. When they arrived, there was only Mamane in the Pokémon Center. The others hadn't arrived yet. It was normal. Catch's family was here. If she went home to do some work, she wouldn't come back so soon. Mao and Shulian seemed to have taken Xiaoxia shopping. Then the girl went shopping and came back later. Isn't that normal? When it was time for dinner, everyone came back one after another. Only Xiaoxia was not there. Strange. Where is Xiaoxia? Every time it's time for dinner, he will come out by himself. Dr. Kuki said strangely. Although he had known Xiaoxia for a short time, he remembered Xiaoxia's characteristics. Yu also felt strange. Xiaoxia would miss dinner? Curious, suddenly saw a strong burst of power from the intersection of lightning and fire in the sky in the distance. Xiaoxia's expression changed suddenly. It's the power of Pikachu and Charizard. Xiaoxia, there is danger. After that, she rushed out first. Yu and his group couldn't sit still. They all stood up and walked out. When they arrived, they saw Xiaoxia and his Pokémon sitting on the ground, somewhat powerlessly. Even Charizard had scars on his body. Standing in front of him was a member of Team Skull, Alala's underground team. Yu's expression changed slightly. Although Xiaoxia's Charizard has not yet gone to Charizard Valley for further training, its strength is also first class. There are not many people in Alala who can defeat it. Team Skull is even smaller. Except for the Captain Guzma, there seems to be no one else. In other words, Guzma is here? Yu looked at the center of Team Skull, a man who was about the same age as Professor Kuki, about 30 years old, with his eyes looking up, and a domineering look on his face. Guzma. The first sentence that Dr. Kuki said when he saw the man perfectly verified Yu's guess. Kuki. Guzma's face suddenly became ferocious and full of disgust when he saw Dr. Kuki. You are here as you always are? Guzma, what are you doing? Don't you feel ashamed to attack a young trainer? Dr. Kuki looked at Xiaoxia's Pokémon and frowned. What am I doing? When should I tell you? Who do you think you are? I can fight you whenever I want. Guzma said with disdain. Yes, who are you? Why are you yelling at our big brother Guzma? Who are you? Do you know who our big brother Guzma is? He is invincible. Yes, our big brother Guzma is invincible. Why don't you admit your mistake? As soon as Guzma finished speaking, a group of Skull Team's younger brothers behind him shouted. Puff Yu suddenly laughed without any warning, and after laughing, he said, sorry, I couldn't help it for a moment. You guys continue. There was no way. I really couldn't help it. Guzma, the undefeated emperor. Or is he still claiming to be undefeated in front of Kuki, who has been superior to Guzma since childhood? Asshole, what are you doing? Are you laughing at our great brother Guzma? Do you know how big a mistake you have made? Laughing in front of our great brother Guzma, are you going to be destroyed? A group of members of the Skull Team were excited, as if Yu had dug up their ancestors' graves. Yu raised his eyebrows and said to Lily, sure enough. The middle school hooligans are the most unreasonable things, just like now. What did you say? A member of the Skull Team questioned Yu angrily. Yu's eyes turned cold, and he shot a shadow ball, knocking the member of the Skull Team away, saying, if your ears are not good, just go to the hospital. Why are you asking people for money? Seeing Yu knocking the member of the Skull Team away in public, Guzma's face suddenly darkened. He looked at the Pokémon that had been wrapped in armor like a warrior. The Pokémon flew out immediately, so fast that there was no afterimage, and it killed in front of Yu and attacked Yu. Although Guzma never took the Skull Team seriously, in his opinion, the people of the Skull Team, except for Bull Beauty, were useless trash, but this did not mean that he would allow someone to hit his little brother in front of him. Yu's face did not change, and the ghost energy on his right hand flashed, forming a huge fist, and then he hit it violently in one direction, knocking back the Pokémon that Guzma attacked with one punch. Armored Warrior, your Pokémon is just so-so, just like you, not very good. Yu put his hand in his pocket and said, what did you say? Guzma looked at Yu with a gloomy face. If Yu hadn't beaten the Armored Warrior with one punch, which made him feel that Yu was not weak, he would have commanded the Armored Warrior again. You are useless. You are always the second. Yu said. Guzma, a metaphysical legend. In terms of strength, he should be the second ranked trainer in the Alola region. Second only to Kuki. However, for some reason, every time he participated in a challenging competition, he was second. Always second. Therefore, he went on the road of self-abandonment. living in his comfort zone, refusing to come out, only participating in non-challenging competitions, that he could definitely win the championship. He also formed the Skull team, such a negative team. It is not an organization. This thing does not deserve to be called an organization. What did you say? In front of a group of younger brothers, the biggest scar in his heart was directly torn open by Yu. Guzma's face immediately became ugly like a volcano about to erupt. His eyes were as sharp as a knife, and he didn't care about anything. He said, "Armored warrior, poison attack." The armored Pokémon moved again, and the sharp claws glowed with purple light, stabbing directly at Yu. But before it hit, a Lucario with a determined look suddenly flew out, his fists shining with white light, blocking the claw for Yu. Guzma's face became even uglier, and he looked at Dr. Kuki angrily. He had seen this Lucario before, and it was Kuki's. "I can't allow you to hurt others in front of me." Dr. Kuki walked to the side of Lucario and said, "You are such a nosy guy, and you are still so annoying. But not only that, what qualifications do you have to intervene in a normal battle? Boy, you are not afraid to fight me, and you want to hide behind Kuki." Guzma said to Yu, "Of course, you are not worthy yet. But are you sure about the result of fighting with me?" Yu said. "Result? What result? What do you want?" Guzma said disdainfully, "I fight you, and if I lose, I want you to be my subordinate. From now on, I will be your boss, and you must obey my orders," Yu said. Chapter 153 Yu vs. Guzma. Be your subordinate, and obey your orders? Boy, you are not stupid, are you? Guzma looked at Yu mockingly, as if he had heard a big joke. "What? Are you afraid?" Yu looked at Guzma with an extremely contemptuous look. "Don't use such a stupid provocation. Why should I make a bet with you? That has no benefit to me." Guzma's face suddenly became ugly, and he sneered. The word fear seemed to be the biggest taboo in his heart. Sure enough, you still found an excuse to escape. Always live in your own comfort zone, like a child who has not grown up, refusing to grow up. Or like your main armored warrior, once you encounter danger, you will escape. Coward. Yu looked straight at Guzma, as if he could see through his heart, and every word he said was like a sharp sword piercing Guzma's heart. Armored warrior, Guzma's main Pokémon. It has both water and insect attributes, and its body is covered with hard armor, with superb defense. Calculated by racial value alone, it is an existence comparable to Charizard. But in reality, its usage rate is extremely low, because its character is very different from Charizard. Cowardly. After all, its name before evolution was Cowardly Bug. It is very strong in a favorable battle, but once it encounters a strong opponent, it will choose to escape. In the game, it is called danger avoidance. When it loses half of itself, it will return to the Pokeball by itself. In reality, it is similar. Once the damage it receives is large enough, it will escape back to the Pokeball. Or maybe it is just like what Professor Oak said, trainers and Pokémon are very similar. So Guzma and Armored Warrior are attracted to each other. Asshole. Hearing the three words Cowardly Bug, Guzma completely exploded, and said with a ferocious face, "If you want to fight, then fight. If you lose, I, Guzma, will be your subordinate for the rest of my life. If you win, I will make you kneel on the ground, and kowtow to me for mercy. Okay, it's a deal." Yu's eyes flashed. Yu, don't be impulsive. Guzma is not weak. Dr. Kuki's face changed drastically when he heard the bet between Yu and Guzma. Others don't know Guzma's strength, but how can he not know it? Although he set up a barrier for himself and dared not face his true self, resulting in an amazing talent, he has not yet been promoted to the king. But among the elite trainers, he is definitely the best one. It can even be said that he is the first person below the king. If he is weak, I won't look for him. I need a strong trainer to be my long-term sparring partner, preferably a king level, but the king level is not easy to find, so I have my eyes on him, the top trainer below the king. Yu said. He needs a long-term sparring partner to be his opponent. This opponent must be strong. Even in Yu's ideal state, this sparring partner must be stronger than him. Only such a battle can fully improve his strength. But with his current strength, the only trainer who can achieve this is a king level trainer. But such a trainer is the number one person, no matter where he is. With Yu's family power, He can find a few trainers at the level of a king to fight him, but it can only be done occasionally. It is impossible to have them on call for a long time. So, he just found one himself. Guzma is very suitable. If it weren't for his self-limitation, he didn't dare to fight against the strong, and he bullied rookies every day, which led to his strength remaining the same for 10 years. He would have become a king long ago. Fighting against such a master is the real training. There are many trainers at the same level as Guzma in the Champions League. Kiku looked at Yu's confident expression and saw that Yu was determined. It was difficult to persuade him, so he could only stand up and say, "Then I will be the referee." How many to several? I didn't bring too many Pokémon today, so keep it simple. Kit, one-on-one. Guzma looked at Yu and said, "One-on-one? Sure." Yu raised his eyebrows. He wanted more Pokémon battles. After all, the worst in the Champions League is 3-on-3, but this is also okay, just to save time. He took out his mobile phone and called Mutwo. At Lily Manor, Mutwo, who was reading a book, listened to the ringing of his cell phone and showed an unhappy expression on his face. This cell phone was bought by Yu, and it was unique among all the Pokémon. Haunter had struggled for so long, but still hadn't gotten a dedicated cell phone, so he just kept using Yu's. But that's it. Yu was the only one who knew the cell phone number, and when Yu looked for it, nothing good ever happened. He basically used it as a means of transportation. The phone was connected. Mutwo listened to Yu's voice and then showed an expression of as expected. He closed the book unhappily, and then his superpowers surged, and he teleported with all of Yu's Pokémon and Pokéballs across the sea and came to Yu's side. "Thanks, Mutwo," Yu said to Mutwo. Mutwo glanced at Yu lightly, too lazy to speak. "Okay, Ghastly, come over, let's fight," Yu said. "Are you good?" Haunter floated over and said, "Not bad, you can win, but you have to be serious," Yu said. "Oh, I'm just a wimp." Haunter sneered. Guzma's expression became even uglier, and the Skull Team members behind him sneered. "Okay, now both Pokémon are in place, and the battle begins." Dr. Kiku said, "Armored Warrior, attack head on." Haunter, Shadow attack. Almost at the same time as Dr. Kiku finished speaking, Guzma and Yu's orders rang out. The Armored Warrior's body turned into a residual shadow and rushed forward, as if teleporting in front of Haunter, and hit him fiercely. At the same time, the powerful ghost energy on Haunter surged, and a ghost claw suddenly rolled out from the shadow behind the Armored Warrior. Then, almost instantly, the Armored Warrior's claw hit Haunter, and the ghost energy in the Armored Warrior's shadow burst out, shaking the Armored Warrior away. The two Pokémon quickly recovered, one floating in the air, and the other standing on the ground, staring at each other sharply. "What a powerful Pokémon! What powerful trainers!" Lizzie exclaimed. Yu and Guzma launched their attack almost at the moment when Professor Kiku finished speaking. Such a keen grasp of timing is rare. If it is too early, it will be a foul, and if it is too late, the opponent will take the lead. But both of them did it perfectly, and they all used preemptive attacks. Whether it was a head-on attack or a shadow attack, they took the initiative to attack and seize the opportunity during the battle. With such perfect cooperation, facing ordinary trainers, they can basically deal a heavy blow to the opponent at the beginning, and even decide the outcome of the game. Lizzie was honest and unsure about what to do next. But in the end, the two met each other. Chapter 154, The Escaped Armored Warrior. Haunter, Shadow Ball. Yu said. The previous attack was a draw, and no one took advantage. Head-on attack is the most powerful preemptive move, and it is faster than Shadow Sneak attack. In addition, the Armored Warrior is covered with armor, so the damage from Shadow Sneak attack is not too high. In this respect, the Armored Warrior has the advantage. But unfortunately, the head-on attack is a bug attribute move, which is not effective against ghost attribute or poison attribute moves. So the head-on attack against Haunter weakens it fourfold. Everyone is equally matched, and no one took advantage, and no one suffered a loss. Armored Warrior, block it all. Guzma said. The Armored Warrior closed the shell in his hand like a shield, and blocked it in front of him like an indestructible shield. Haunter's Shadow Ball hit the Armored Warrior shell, and then it was directly bounced back, with no effect. Armored Warrior, Water Flow Split. Guzma said with a sharp look. The armored warrior rushed forward quickly, the water in his hand, surged into a sharp sword, and slashed at Haunter. Haunter, dive. Yu responded immediately. Haunter's shadow moved, emitting ghostly light, and disappeared in the claustrophobic place. Guzma's face changed. This kid's Pokémon is really not simple. He said solemnly, Armored warrior, wait. He didn't know that Haunter's shadow attack was a sneak attack, so he just treated it as a sneak attack, using the subtlety of space to sneak into the subspace. This trick is powerful and hidden, and not many Pokémon can learn it. But it won't last long. It will definitely come out to attack. The space moved abnormally, ghost energy surged, and a group of black shadows suddenly burst out, sweeping the armored warrior, and the ghost energy violently attacked the armored warrior. The armored warrior was attacked violently all over, and a strong pain came. Missile needle. Guzma shouted quickly, completely ignoring the pain that the armored warrior was suffering at the moment, and just gave orders coldly. The armored warrior injured the pain, and the armor on his arm changed, and needles flew out. Even though Haunter was now in shadow form, he was still affected by the insect energy. Water flow break. Guzma took advantage of the victory and pursued. The water in the armored warrior's hand condensed into a sharp sword again, slashing it down quickly, splitting the shadow. The shadow changed and flew once before condensing into the appearance of Haunter again, but the form was weak and it was obviously seriously injured. Haunter, invisible. Yu shouted. Haunter's ghost energy fluctuated and his body gradually became transparent. Armored warrior, surf. Guzma's order sounded, and the waves under the armored warrior's feet surged, and the waves burst out, and at the same time, attacked in all directions. Haunter, poison attack. Yu ordered again. At this point, surfing is a large-scale attack, and Haunter can't escape. It must be fought head-on. Haunter's hands burst out, emitting a toxic light, and hit hard, breaking through the entire wave, and hitting the armored warrior. Seeing that his special move was broken, Guzma didn't panic at all, but showed a smug smile. The plan has been successful, and the surfing was broken, which is reasonable. Armored warrior, hell stab. Guzma said. The armored warrior ran quickly, with a dark red light emitting from his claws, and fought Haunter at close range. Haunter, go to heaven. Yu said. Haunter's defense is not high. If it is hit by the armored warrior's evil attribute hell stab, it may not last long. Moreover, Haunter's strength lies in concealment. If it is close, some methods are not suitable. Armored warrior, insect song. Guzma continued. The armored warrior's shell vibrated all over his body, making a sharp chirping sound, and the surrounding air vibrated and roared, causing Haunter to scream in pain. What a powerful attack, what a decisive command. Lizzie praised on the side. Even she was ashamed of this operation and command. Ms. Lizzie, are you talking about Guzma? Lilia said. Yes, he gave the order decisively, almost completely ignoring the status of the Pokémon, but such ruthless command is indeed useful in battle. Lizzie said. Close distance for close combat, on the one hand, is conducive to exerting the strength of the armored warrior itself. On the other hand, it can prevent the use of the spirit attack again. Although the spirit attack is lurking in the subspace, the general Pokémon's attack cannot hit it. But in the real world, as long as you fight in close combat and seize the opportunity, you can interrupt it. Yu let Haunter fly, which was a correct judgment, and wanted to dodge again. At this time, Guzma used Insect Buzz again. Although the damage was not great, the damage was continuously output, which could shake the surrounding air, and the effect of Haunter's invisibility could not be sustained. Then Yu will not lose. Lilia worriedly. No, Yu will not lose the game so easily. The result of the game cannot be seen until the last moment. Zyos, he said passionately. Persistence and backbone are the victory of everything. As long as they are with Pokémon, even at the last moment, they can still turn defeat into victory. This is Zyos' belief. Listening to Zyos' words, Lily relaxed a little. She would not lose. Yu is so powerful, she will definitely win. Since coming here, Mutwo, who had been watching movies on his mobile phone and not speaking, heard a group of people talking, slightly side-eyed, and moved his eyes away from the mobile phone screen to look at Haunter and Armored Warrior. Boy, admit defeat. You are not my opponent. Kowtow to me and admit your mistakes. Guzma looked at Yu triumphantly and said. Yes, the winner is Brother Guzma. The invincible one is Brother Guzma. Countless Skull Team brothers cheered and shouted behind him. Yu turned a deaf ear and concentrated. The continuous insect chirping of the armored warrior damaged his invisibility, which was a bit troublesome. But it was also an opportunity. Haunter, shadow, kill. As Yu finished speaking, there was an abnormal fluctuation in the air, emitting strong ghost energy, rushing towards the armored warrior. Shadow kill? It's a unique move that has never been seen before. It's so fancy. The armored warrior defeated it in one fell swoop. Guzma said with disdain. The armored warrior ran quickly, and his claws hit the place where the energy wave attack appeared. The claws penetrated through, and hit Haunter through, and Haunter's figure completely dissipated. Guzma's face suddenly changed drastically, and he saw a Haunter suddenly jumped out from behind the armored warrior, turning into a shadow, and hitting the armored warrior violently, knocking the armored warrior violently to the ground, and the ground cracked. Yu's mouth corners rose. It's shadow kill, not shadow kill. Shadow clone, plus kill. Simple routine. Shadow clone. Use a clone to pretend to attack to attract the opponent, and then attack with the main body. Common routine of clone technique. Naruto, Dragon Ball. It's just that the shadow clones of Pokémon in this world are just a crude way to create many clones like themselves and do the same actions, so it can't be so late. But other Pokémon can't do it, but Haunter can. After all, Jinga's family is special, and Yu's Haunter is even more special. So it was perfectly achieved. Next, it's time for me to control the situation. Yu's eyes were sharp, but he saw the armored warrior suddenly turned into a red light and returned to Guzma's Pokeball. There will be another update in the afternoon. I went to the hospital for a checkup in the morning, so the update will be later. Chapter 155, Crazy Guzma. The unexpected development was beyond everyone's expectations. Halfway through the battle, the armored warrior actually ran away. Yu won, and the armored warrior fled back to the Pokeball, which is considered a loss of fighting will. In a one-on-one match without changing Pokémon, he failed. Lily was the first to react. Running away means losing. That's right, Guzma, you lost. Dr. Kiku looked at Guzma and said. This development was also beyond his expectations. He didn't expect that Guzma's armored warrior would sense the danger so quickly and want to escape back to the Pokeball. Guzma's face was gloomy, like a suppressed volcano, and veins on his forehead were bulging. He knew the situation of the armored warrior, but he didn't expect the armored warrior to fail at this time. Losing the game inexplicably and becoming a subordinate to that kid. When Guzma thought of that result, his face became grim. He threw the armored warrior out again, then crushed the armored warrior's Pokeball with one foot, and shouted hysterically at the armored warrior, "Armored warrior, are you an idiot? Who told you to escape? You can't bear such a small setback. Fight." The armored warrior seemed to realize that he had made a mistake, and lowered his head, and dared not refute Guzma. "You have already lost the game." Dr. Kiku looked at Guzma seriously and said, "No, I didn't. This was just a little accident of the armored warrior. The armored warrior has not lost the ability to fight. Try again." Guzma ordered Dr. Kiku. "Losing is losing. Can you still not afford to lose?" Dr. Kiku looked at Guzma and said, "You can't afford to lose. This is the armored warrior's fault. What does it have to do with me? The armored warrior has not lost his fighting ability." Guzma said. "Haunter, Shadow Ball," Yu suddenly said. A shadow gathered in Haunter's hand, and it quickly and strangely smashed towards the armored warrior, knocking the armored warrior away. Everyone was slightly stunned, and looked at Yu in unison. "Don't waste time, I'm not interested in such a victory," Yu said. Guzma was stunned, and then a grim smile appeared on his face and said, "Sure enough, it's as annoying as Kiku, pursuing a fair victory, but it's just right. Watch me defeat you. No, this game, no matter the outcome, I have already won. I pity you, and you accepted the opportunity to be pitied by me," Yu said. "What did you say?" Guzma said with a gloomy face. "To be honest, Pokémon and trainers have always been one. Don't you know this truth? No matter what the armored warrior does, as a trainer, you have an unshakable responsibility. Now let me say, what does the armored warrior's fault have to do with you, Guzma? Why don't you say that your brain problem has something to do with you? You are worse than I thought, Yu said. Guzma's expression was ugly and gloomy. He disdained Z moves and the tradition of a lola respecting nature and making friends with Pokémon. He didn't care much about bonds. However, he believed that Pokémon were the private property of the trainer. The fault of Pokémon was that the trainer didn't train well and wasn't strict enough. Yu pursued to defeat him completely, and he ridiculed it as a child's trick, childish and naive. But now it can be called pity. But he couldn't refuse, because he would rather accept this humiliation than be a subordinate to Yu. Besides, if he won, all the humiliation could be washed away, but Yu humiliated himself. Now, do you regret that you have never participated in really difficult competitions to improve yourself, but have been fighting with some trainers who are far less powerful than you, and don't even have the ability to stimulate the instincts of armored warriors? Self-escape, self-sealing, obviously have a lot of talent, but are a complete coward, and your strength has not improved at all. If you had trained well earlier, would you still have what happened today? Coward, Yu said. Yu's words were merciless, even to the point of being harsh. All the members of the Skull team shouted impatiently. Only the only Kada, Ball Melee, who knew everything about Guzma, said with a frosty face, "Shut up, everyone, this is Guzma's battle. Can he break through his own battle?" After hearing this, the members of the Skull team dared not speak. "Armored warrior, did you hear me? Now fight with all your strength." Hellstab. Guzma's eyes bulged, and he roared almost madly. What he had been avoiding for more than 10 years was now said in public by someone who was less than half his age. Guzma's anger instantly overwhelmed his reason, and he didn't want to care about anything, just wanted to fight. The armored warrior felt the anger of the trainer, and the dark red evil energy on his claws burst out. 3 1-meter long energy scratches raged in the air, as if they could cut through space. "Haunter, Phantom," Yu said. Haunter's figure floated and disappeared in an instant. "Armored warrior, maximum power in a sect." Chirp. Guzma roared. The armor of the armored warrior vibrated, and the sharp chirping sound resounded all around, louder than before. The group of people watching Lilia felt pain and retreated. What's going on? The armored warrior's physical strength should have been lost a lot. Why did the power increase instead? Lilia asked, puzzled. The strength of the armored warrior is increasing. Dr. Kiku's expression was serious. The armored warrior was originally a top-level quasi-king, and now it is still improving. It is a king. In addition, Guzma himself will probably enter the king in a very short time after this game. Guzma has always hypnotized himself, like a person pretending to sleep, and such a person is really impossible to wake up. You can never wake up a person pretending to sleep. But Yu's words are not to wake up, but to wake him up with a stick at the cost of beating him to death. Yu is in danger. Here it comes. The water flow breaks. Attack everyone. Guzma roared. The armored warrior slashed through the 4 directions with a water blade, knocking out all the haunters hiding in the air. No matter you, real or fake, all of them will be destroyed at once. As long as you are strong enough, what does it matter? Get close. Hypnotize. Yu said. Haunter's figure flashed in the air, and he slapped the armored warrior fiercely, releasing a powerful hypnotic wave. Armored warrior, use the most powerful hell stab on yourself. Guzma shouted. The armored warrior's claws emitted a dark light, and he suddenly stabbed his throat, making a painful cry, forcing himself to wake up, keep a distance from Haunter, and then beat Haunter back. Hell stab has strong damage. It is not easy to fall asleep, and there will be continuous damage in the throat to keep awake. Self-harm to stay awake. Is this okay? Kachi said in shock. Can you still fight like this? Yes. Dr. Kiku nodded. In the case of absolute pain, you can also maintain absolute will. It's just that it can make Pokémon attack itself, which is a high test for the trainer. Guzma is really strong. Seeing Guzma, who has become stronger due to his recklessness, and the armored warrior who has been inspired to become stronger because his Pokéball was shattered, Yu's mouth curled up, revealing a strong fighting spirit. Yes, it is such an opponent that is worth challenging. It is the best way to train yourself. Haunter, come on, use your most powerful strength. The ghost energy on Yu's body rioted, full of destructive power, like a tyrannical monster, injected into Haunter, and Haunter also made a strange cry at the same time, resonating with Yu's soul, and the ghost energy surged instantly. it suddenly turned into a shadow and crashed into the armored warrior, knocking the armored warrior dozens of meters away and fell heavily to the ground, and the ground cracked. Dr. Kyuki's pupils shrank suddenly. The strength of this haunter also surpassed the level of the Quasi King, and it became stronger so quickly. The outcome of this game became unpredictable again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156 Evolution, Jenga. Armored warrior, get up and continue fighting. We must not lose here. Guzma looked at the armored warrior who fell to the ground and said. The armored warrior struggled to stand up. Although he was in a mess, he still stood firmly with a strong aura. Very good, that's it. Get used to the pain, endure the pain, and win this game. Guzma shouted, and the armored warrior perfectly implemented the instructions and fought with Haunter. Haunter, don't lose. Shadow Ball. Yu shouted loudly. The ghost energy on his body rioted. Haunter's shadow roared, and the overwhelming shadow ball flew out. Haunter and Yu's minds were completely synchronized, and they entered an excited state together. This opponent is really interesting, so they must defeat it. It wants to defeat this guy in front of it, and then defeat the one called Machado. It wants to win. Become the strongest ghost type Pokémon. Even surpass its mother. Armored warrior, water stream break. Guzma also fell into a complete combat state. Completely immersed in the battle, completely forgetting himself, with only victory and defeat in his mind. Guzma hasn't been in such a battle state for at least 10 years. In the past 10 years, he has only participated in battles that he must win. The trainers and Pokémon he faced were at least one level lower than him. He either crushed them with the attitude of a king, or played with them with the mentality of a cat playing with a mouse. It was like a tall and strong adult who insisted on boxing with a kindergarten kid. He enjoyed such a sure victory, and gradually lost the tension of the battle. Now, he has it again. The strong desire and expectation for victory, and a little bit of uneasiness. Guzma found that he didn't hate this state. The only thing on his mind was victory, victory. Carrying the will of the trainer, Haunter and Armored Warrior completely forgot themselves and broke out in battle. Ghost energy and water energy exploded throughout the whole process. The air around roared, and the ground exploded with potholes. What an amazing battle. Lizzie was dumbfounded. She was sure that these two trainers, although one was young and the other had not passed the island tour, had moral flaws, but they were both stronger than her. Yu's Haunter still has such a strong fighting power. Zyos, he was also dumbfounded. Is the gap between me and Yu so big? The most exciting battle. Dr. Kyuki watched the battle and commented with a smile. Doctor, this game is a bet. The cost of losing is very high. Who will win? Lily said worriedly. It's possible for anyone to win. At this point in the game, tactics and strength are not very important. What's important is the will to win. See who wants to win more. Dr. Kyuki said that Yu's command skills are slightly worse than Guzma, but the strength of the Pokémon is slightly better. Overall, they are on par with each other. There is no difference in strength. It's possible for anyone to win or lose. In this case, it depends on will, which seems illusory, but occupies a large proportion in the game. In the end, this game depends on who has a stronger will to win. The will to win? Lily frowned. This kind of thing is the most illusory. Haunter and Armored Warrior fought fiercely, burning with all their strength. Fight with all your strength, Haunter. Take our victory. Yu's eyes widened, and the Z bracelet in his hand emitted a dark light, covering the surroundings. Judging from the current situation, the two sides are evenly matched, and it depends on the will to win. But Yu's current state is not durable. Even though he has been training hard these days and the resonance time with Haunter has been greatly extended from 3 minutes to 15 minutes, it is not durable. He can't fight for a long time. So the battle must be fast. And he has his magic weapon to win. Z moves, something Guzma doesn't have. Endless dark night. The dark light penetrated the sky, and the whole earth was shrouded in dark ghost power, as if it were a demonic domain. Countless ghost tentacles jumped out of the ground, as if to pull the Armored Warrior into the abyss. Z moves. Troublesome things. Armored warrior. The water flow breaks and crushes everything. Guzma shouted. Break. Yu roared. Haunter's ghost energy wave, combined with Z moves, brought the power of Alala's magnetic field to attack the armored warrior like a demon king. The endless magnetic field condensed, and a burst of white light suddenly appeared on his body. When the white light dissipated, the original Haunter disappeared, and his body became larger, growing to legs, and his hands merged with his body. Jenga. Explosive attack. Terrifying energy wave bombardment, shining with dazzling light, smoke, and dust rolling. When the light dissipated, the armored warrior fell heavily to the ground, and Jenga proudly put his hands on his hips and floated in the air. Master, I won. The armored warrior has lost his ability to fight, and you won. Dr. Kiku looked at the fallen armored warrior and made a judgment, but his eyes were fixed on Yu's Jenga. He actually evolved at the last moment and won everything. His current strength is already a king. Perhaps, in the Champions League, he can go further than he thought. Over the years, the Champions League has basically 8 teams with a king Pokémon. Lost. Guzma looked at the fallen armored warrior and took a while to react. Touching his violently beating heart, he still couldn't believe it. How long has it been since I felt this kind of heartbeat? You lost. Yu looked at Guzma and said. Guzma gradually regained consciousness, took out a new Pokeball, smashed it on the armored warrior, and subdued the armored warrior again, and then looked at Yu. In the future, will this little devil in front of you be a subordinate? Do you want to deny it? Yu said. There's nothing to deny. Guzma, keep my word. I will be your subordinate, but if one day I'm stronger than you, I will leave. Guzma said. No problem. But sign a labor contract with me first. The monthly salary is temporarily set at 50,000. 5 insurances and 1 housing fund will be paid after joining the company. The content of your job is to fight with me when I need it, and then I will find you for other special things. Yu said. And salary? Guzma looked at Yu strangely. He has a group of younger brothers, but they never gave him a dime. Even the uniforms of the skeleton team were bought by themselves. He thought it was the same with Yu. Of course, I'm a fair person. During your tenure, the expenses incurred by you for work can be reimbursed. I can also apply for some resources for you, Yu said. Guzma nodded slightly, and it seemed okay to say so. However, during the work period, you can no longer destroy at will, Yu said. Hearing the restrictions, Guzma's face immediately sank, showing an uncomfortable expression, but he didn't say much. Anyway, destroying things is just to kill time. Then, not for the time being, get ready. I will have someone make the final contact with you, and if you work well, we will also make long-term plans for you to improve your strength. Yu said. Improve your strength? How much better are you than me? Make plans for me? Can you do it? Guzma sneered. Ignorance makes you proud. Let me ask you, how many Pokémon do you have now? Yu raised the corner of his mouth. An armored warrior, a claw mantis, and a great armor. Guzma said. He didn't have much income and couldn't afford to support too many Pokémon. He had 2 Pokémon, 1 quasi-elite peak, and 2 high-level elites. Then do you know how strong Professor Kiku is? He has all 6 Pokémon, including Venusaur from Kanto, Tigris from Alala, Nabob from Sinnoh, and Lucario. Do you think you are comparable? Yu said. Kiku is really a hidden boss. The 3 starters in Kanto, Sinnoh, and Alala each have a Lucario that is not bad in strength. Guzma's expression changed, looking at this guy Professor Kiku, who actually has so many Pokémon that are not weak in strength. Professor Kiku's expression was subtle. How did you know so much? These are his achievements, because he has produced Alala and knows the differences and strengths of each region. And you, have you produced Alala? Now I will give you funds and let you cultivate. What Pokémon will you choose to capture? Yu said. The electric and bug dual attribute Shovelwolf, the bug and fighting Heracross that can fly like the great armor, and finally Ariados. 6 are enough. Guzma said. On weekdays, he would think about these when he was bored. What would happen if he wanted to capture them? Although it was just a bored thought, it was never put into practice. After all, Alala has never had a 6-on-6 competition ceremony. Most of the time, there are only 1 or 2. Guzma has no intention of participating in the competition. 3 is already a lot. Just these 3. Sure enough, the place limits your imagination. Yu laughed when he heard this. What do you mean? Do you think the bug type is not strong enough? Guzma said with a cold face. No, I'm just saying that you don't have enough experience. Bug type Pokémon are generally weak, but there are some that are strong enough. Have you heard of the Unova region's Vulcan moth? It has both fire and bug attributes, and is worshipped as the god of fire by humans. It was once the strongest main force of the Unova champion deck. According to the official data of the league, it is stronger than the blazing roaring tiger. Also from the Unova region, Genesect, an ancient Pokémon from 300 million years ago, but recent research shows that it has a tendency to be resurrected. Once it is resurrected successfully, it will be comparable to Dragonite. The shelled ninja from the Hone region has the strange characteristic of being protected by a divine weapon. When the difference in strength is not as great as the difference in strength, except for the 5 special moves of flying, ghost, fire, evil, and rock, the rest, even the big special moves such as destruction, death ray, sun flame, and water cannon, are completely ineffective. There are also night snail, archaic armor, etc. Which one do you know? Yu looked at Guzma with a smile, and this did not include the pheromone and the blastoise in the ultra cave. Guzma was surprised. He really never knew these. Judging from Yu's expression, it's definitely not fake. So I'm not an expert in insects. The code is smooth, and I will continue to update. I will give an ending to the game. By the way, please subscribe, recommend, and reward. Chapter 157, Kapu Butterfly, Vulcan Moth, Genesect, Shell Ninja, Archaic Armor, Night Snail. Are these all Pokémon? Zyozzy looked at Zyraksha with a curious look on his face and asked, how should I know? Zyraksha asked Zyozzy in a strange way. What a joke, you asked her, who is afraid of insects, to answer questions about these insect Pokémon. What is the situation? Zyraksha, you don't know either. What are Hone, Unova, and Sinnoh? Zyozzy was confused. Every time he was with Yu, there were countless question marks in his mind. These are all the same areas as Kanto. The Hone area is southwest of the Johto area, and Sinnoh is northeast of Kanto and Johto. As for Unova, I don't know either. Zyrojian said. As a Pokémon observer who traveled independently, he knew more about the general areas of the world than Zyozzy, who had just come out, and Zyraksha, who had never left Kanto. So these Pokémon are also real. Zyozzy exclaimed. I think so. Vulcan Moth, Genesect. Zyrojian's eyes were full of longing. There are so many Pokémon, have you never seen them before? Bug Pokémon also have their own spring. Stay at home, don't fight a battle you are not sure of, it's cool, but that's all. Guzma, I'll let you work for me, and be my subordinate, I need you, but this is also a chance for you to become stronger, unless you really don't want to become stronger at all. Yu said. Give me a few days to prepare, and I will find you, after I finish my work. Guzma hesitated for a while, and looked at Yu and said. Okay, I'll give you a week, and you can also think about any requirements. If it's reasonable, I will agree. After all, you will work for me for a long time in the future, Yu said. Or for a lifetime. Because Yu didn't think Guzma could be stronger than him. Although Guzma broke the barrier and there will be a promotion period next, compared with Yu who has unlimited potential, the gap between the two sides will only increase, not decrease. Guzma didn't say anything else, turned around and left with the people of the Skull team. I didn't expect that you could actually beat Guzma. Dr. Kuki looked at Yu and said. Because I have confidence in Haunter, no, Jenga. Yu smiled and replied, looking at the evolved Jenga on the side. How do you feel, now that you have evolved? Nothing special, just the feeling of having legs, which is better, and my fingers are more flexible, and I can play games faster. In addition, the promised mobile phone has not been given to me yet. Jenga said to Yu. Wait a minute, you have evolved now. I remember that Jenga's body can hide a lot of things, right? Yu looked at Jenga and said. He remembered that there was a Jenga in Alala, and it had a room-sized thing hidden in its body. It was called Greedy Lapu. What do you want to do? Jenga looked at Yu with a defensive look. Every time Yu showed such an expression, nothing good would happen. Nothing. I will customize a mirror that is big enough to put in your body after I go back, and then Giratina can come at any time, Yu said, and then when traveling, he would throw the luggage bag into Jenga's body so that he would not have to carry it. Great. That's it? Jenga looked at Yu suspiciously. Why don't I believe it? That's it. Okay, here's the money. Go buy it yourself. Yu threw the wallet to Jenga, who took it in seconds and flew away happily, not caring about what Yu thought. Let's buy the phone first. Then when everyone comes, let's train together. Yu looked at Mewtwo and a group of Pokémon and said. Mewtwo glanced at Yu, and then the superpower on his body fluctuated and disappeared instantly. Yu didn't care. With Mewtwo's strength, only others were in danger, and it would definitely not be in any danger. And with a mobile phone, it can be contacted quickly. Let's talk about it after training. Now it's time to go back to eat, Xiaoxu said. That's right. Yu nodded suddenly, and everyone went back to the Pokémon Center to enjoy the rest of the dinner. Xiaoxu gave Miss Joy the treatment of the Pokémon injured by Guzma. Night fell quietly, and everyone returned to their rooms. Yu was in front of the table, continuing to make plans for the Pokémon. Jenga's evolution is reasonable, but it is a pleasant surprise. With it, as long as his luck is not too bad, there is basically no problem in reaching the top 8 of the Champions League. In addition, Dragonite Quasseking has a stable strength and will not improve much in a short period of time. It is good to focus on Irontail. Not only can it make use of Dragonite's body parts to perform better in close combat, but it can also restrain Ice and Fairy types, the two Pokémon attributes that restrain Dragon types. I just don't know how Raichu learns from Tapu and how many tricks he has learned. After formulating several tactics, Yu closed the computer with some satisfaction, walked to the balcony, blew the night breeze, and relaxed his mind. When he came to the balcony, the moonlight shone down. Looking up at the bright moon, Yu suddenly felt infinitely relaxed, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. It would be boring if he didn't go out to look around under such a good moonlight. Thinking of this, Yu returned to the bed, covered himself with a quilt, and then punched himself hard, and his soul left his body, floating freely in the sky, without a trace of weight on his body. Light and elegant, extremely comfortable. Every time his soul leaves his body, Yu has this feeling. Moreover, Yu also feels that his power is getting stronger and stronger. Before Haunter evolved into Jenga, he was definitely stronger than Haunter. Now that he has evolved into Jenga, he is a little bit inferior, but Yu feels that he will improve when he reaches the strength of a king, and then he and Haunter transfer energy to each other. Maybe he can directly make Jenga the champion, or let the resonance between the two last forever. Thinking in his heart, Yu floated with the wind, looking down at the night view of Akira from a new perspective. Looking at the comfortable and happy life of the Akira Islanders under the night sky, and some Pokémon who are particularly energetic at night. It feels particularly interesting. Yu was floating, and suddenly saw a piece of colorful scales flying in the sky, and a pink Pokémon like an indigenous god was flying in the sky. Seeing Yu flying, he showed a novel expression, and greeted Yu. I have been here for so long, and I have never seen a flying human. Hello, I'm Yu, and I'm friends with Lunala, Tapu Chirp, and Tapu Fin, Yu said with a smile. Tapu Chirp, one of the 4 island guardians, has both psychic and fairy attributes, and is naive and cruel. Because of her naivety, she likes to fight with people, but because she's too strong, she might kill people. Tapu Chirp tilted her head, looking strange. She even knew Lunala and the others? She seemed to have a similar smell. How interesting. Tapu Chirp, who was very curious about Yu, curiously circled around Yu and talked to Yu. Fortunately, Yu could understand what Tapu Chirp was saying in this state, and chatted with Tapu Chirp with a smile, talking about some novel stories. These stories were all materials collected by Yu to prepare the script of Giratina. Originally, I thought that they would be useless after the preparation of the Giratina movie, but I didn't expect that they would have other uses at this time. Kapudidi was happy to hear that. It flew around Yu for a long time and only separated after dawn. Chapter 158 The Third Battle of the Islands Tour. You, are you ready for the tour of Akira Island? Akira Island, Alter. Lizzie looked at Yu formally. Today is the last day of outdoor teaching of Dr. Kuki and his team. Lizzie decided to test Yu on this day. Although after watching the previous battle between Yu and Guzma, she did not think she had the strength to defeat Yu, but as the queen of the island, this was her duty that she had to fulfill. The result is not important, but the process must always be followed. No problem. Yu said. Okay, under the witness of Akira Island's guardian god Tapu Butterfly, I, the island queen Lizzie, will have a fair battle with you. Lizzie had a solemn and sacred face and prayed. After the prayer, she said to Yu, the test method of Akira Island is that both sides send out 2 Pokémon to fight in combination, just like you faced Orchid and Floating Bubble before, but you can no longer fight alone. If Yu defeated them 1-on-2, it would be too embarrassing. I know. Facing Miss Lizzie, with only 1 Pokémon, I wouldn't dare either. Yu smiled slightly, with a hint of interest in his eyes. Speaking of which, he really hasn't tried doubles. Pokémon trainers are not for performance. The most important thing is actual combat. In actual combat, it is basically impossible to fight 1-on-1. It's either many to many or many to one. Trainers only have 1 mouth and 1 brain, and their energy cannot be dispersed too much, so commanding 2 is the most appropriate. If there are more, they can't take care of both. For this reason, the Alliance has specially held some combined battle competitions for commanding 2 Pokémon in recent years. However, Yu has never tried it. After all, they are still too busy for singles competitions. Lizzie smiled and didn't take it seriously. As for Yu's Jenga, she couldn't stop herself. She took out 2 Pokeballs and emitted 2 red lights at the same time. A lone wolf with ice blue pupils and a light brown body jumped out first. What was particularly noticeable was that there were 4 sharp bristles on its neck. Then, a stone sculpture Pokémon with a huge magnet nose fell to the ground with a bang. What kind of Pokémon is that stone sculpture? It's so special. I've never seen it before. Sasaki, who came to watch the game, looked at Lizzie's Pokémon and said in surprise. These days, he successfully impressed Lizzie with his infinite vitality and made Lizzie agree to let him take the test. Therefore, he was very concerned about Lizzie's strength. He subconsciously took out the Pokémon guide, but it only had the Pokémon guide with information about Kanto, and there was nothing displayed at all. Big North Nose, Rock, and Steel attributes, because their huge red nose has a strong magnetism and always faces north. So it is called Big North Nose, and can use a wealth of Steel attribute moves and Rock type moves. It was Lilia who was kind enough to explain to Sasaki. Oh. Sasaki nodded, not quite understanding, and then continued to observe, intending to learn from this game, and then defeat Lizzie. Man Rock Wolf. Compared to Sasaki's attention to Big North Nose, Yu's attention was more on Lizzie's Brown Wolf. Lizzie's main Pokémon is naturally a Rock-type Pokémon. It evolves from Rock Dog, and will evolve into day and night forms according to the evolution time. If it is a 1 in a million type, it will also evolve into Dusk form. Among them, the day form is relatively kind, and the night form is more irritable. Lizzie is a day form, which is strictly speaking a bit unworthy of the name, because it is a wolf on all 4s, not a werewolf, that walks on 2 legs in the night form. After briefly reviewing the information in his mind, Yu also took out 2 Pokémon balls and said, Squirtle, Flamahorse, you two come together. Flamahorse and Squirtle appeared at the same time. Flamahorse was vibrating with flames all over his body. He looked proudly at the opposite side of the Big North Nose. It was a steel type, so it could restrain a wave. Squirtle looked at the Rock Wolf with a smile on his face. It was a rock type, so it could target a wave. Are they these two? Lizzie looked at Stottle and Blaze. After spending some time with them, she had a rough estimate of Yu's Pokémon strength. These two were not particularly powerful, and she didn't know what she felt in her heart. Was she being looked down upon, or what? But since it was these two, maybe, she could win. Challenger, you go first. Lizzie said. Blaze, Sunny Day, Stottle, dig a hole. Yu issued 2 attack commands in one breath. Blaze's whole body was burning with flames, and the sun in the sky suddenly became hotter. Stottle immediately dug a hole quickly, lurked in the earth, and attacked Dacheobb. Dacheobb is rock and steel, which is very good, but if it is hit by the ground type digging hole, it will be 4 times the damage, which can be fatal. Dacheobb, electromagnetic floating. Facing Stottle's powerful attack, Lizzie looked calm. As the queen of the island, she knew the situation of Dacheobb best, so she prepared defenses early in the morning. The huge red nose of Dacheobb released strange electric waves, and its huge body actually floated in the air and moved quickly. At the moment, when Dacheobb just stood up, Stottle rushed out from the ground under its body, and hit its head with nothing. Its head was stupid and confused. Man Rock Werewolf, now is the time. Rock collapse. At this moment, Lizzie gave the order. The man rock on the neck of Man Rock Werewolf vibrated, and huge rocks emerged from thin air and hit Stottle violently. Stottle screamed, and was hit to the side by the stone. Flame Horse, support Stottle, Yu said. The Flame Horse immediately ran, turned into a red light, caught Stottle, and Stottle fell on the back of the Flame Horse, rolled over, sat naturally, and rode on the back of the Flame Horse to stabilize his body. Very good. Stottle jumped up and used the water cannon. The Flame Horse charged the flame attack on Dacheobb. Yu said. Squirtle jumped up quickly, stretched his limbs into his shell, and a stream of strong water burst out, hitting the lycanthropes. Lycanthropes, rock collapse, Dacheobb, electromagnetic cannon. Lizzie quickly counterattacked. The rock on the neck of lycanthropes vibrated, and huge rocks appeared out of thin air again, like cannonballs hitting the water. The 2 Pokémon retreated at the same time, evenly matched. On Dacheobb's huge red nose, an energy cannonball full of electric power condensed, and was about to be fired, but before it was fired, a blazing red light suddenly flew over, and hit Dacheobb hard, knocking Dacheobb to the ground. The electromagnetic cannon didn't fire yet, but it fell on Dacheobb and exploded first. Miss Lizzie, your Dacheobb seems to be a little slow. Yu looked at Lizzie and said, the only way to break martial arts in the world is to be fast. This theory is basically true. If the speed is fast enough, you can do whatever you want. And in the sprint competition, the fiery horse is definitely second to none. Then block the speed of Flamma Horse first. Lizzie said. Dacheobb, invisible rock. A strange power surged from Dacheobb's body. The ground trembled, and countless huge rock pillars appeared out of thin air, like a cage, completely locking up Flamma Horse and Squirtle. Invisible rock. Yu looked at the huge rock that appeared on the ground in astonishment. Should we really say that there are all kinds of wonders in the world? Invisible rock. It is obviously a trick to use small rocks on the field in advance to cause damage to the Pokémon that take turns to play. Why did it become a blocking trick when it came to Lizzie? Sure, isn't this a rock closure? I don't like to follow the rules. I think every Pokémon trick can play a different side. This is my invisible rock. Lizzie seemed to see Yu's doubts and said proudly, okay, then I will fight back in my own way. Flamma Horse, show the results of your training. Use the most powerful sunlight blade to crush all the rocks. Yu shouted. Flame Horse let out a long cry, and the sunlight gathered on the horn on its head, forming a huge lightsaber that seemed to reach the sky. Lizzie was stunned. Although she knew that Yu had been training Flame Horse on this move, she never thought that Yu would complete it so quickly. Flame Horse swung the horn on its head vigorously, and the huge lightsaber slashed down. The invisible rocks around it instantly exploded and dissipated. The flying rocks even hit Lycanroc and Dacheobb, causing the 2 Pokémon to fall together. Lizzie was shocked again. Even Land Mantis's sunlight blade was not so powerful. Flame Horse, how did you do it? Flame Horse, pursue the victory, Yu said. Flame Horse's horn on its head once again absorbed the scorching sunlight, turning it into an indestructible sword, and slashed at Lycanroc and Dacheobb at the same time. No, get out of the way, Lizzie said hurriedly. With the power of the sunlight blade that Flamma Horse had just used, if this move hit them, both Lycanroc and Dacheobb would be beaten to the point of losing their combat effectiveness. But at this time, the 2 Pokémon had just stabilized their body postures and could not dodge at all. Just as it was about to hit, Flamma Horse's lightsaber suddenly swung, and its speed and power were greatly reduced. Lycanroc, who recovered first, seized the opportunity and sprayed a rock towards Dacheobb, and at the same time separated. causing the sunlight blade to miss. Chapter 159. Damn. The protagonist is not here. Yu looked up at the sky and saw that the originally clear sky suddenly became gloomy, with dark clouds and no sunshine. Then, the drizzle of rain fell from the sky and poured on Yu, and Yu's heart was inexplicably cold. If the knife had been cut down just now, she would have won. According to common sense, the effect of sunny days can last until then. Even in normal weather on Akira Island, generally speaking, it would not rain. But it happened so badly. On rainy days, if you can't collect sunlight, you can neither emit the sunlight flame nor use the sunlight blade. It seems that I'm lucky. La smiled and said, although this weather made her, the queen of the island, feel a little weird, suddenly changing from sunny to rainy without any signs in between. But thanks to this weird weather, she was not defeated and still had a chance to fight back. Then, let's start all over again, but I believe I will still win, Yu said. He could accept that he would just have to fight for a little longer. Moreover, in rainy weather, rock-type Pokémon would be injured all the time. Although the damage was not serious, it was still very uncomfortable. Although his blaze was the same, at least Squirtle would be well moisturized, which was in his favor. Young man, don't look down on island girls like that. Lizzie was unwilling to be outdone, but before she could say the word king, a snowflake suddenly floated down and landed on her face. Lizzie was stunned. Where did the snowflakes come from? Not to mention that it was June, when the weather was hot. Even in the 12th lunar month, Akila Island had not seen a single snowfall in hundreds of years. To be precise, in the entire Alola region, except for Mount Lanakila on Alola Island, which had snow. Because of its high altitude, there was no snow anywhere else. How could it snow on Akila Island? Boom. Before Lizzie could react, a thunderous roar suddenly sounded in the sky. In the snowflakes, lightning and thunder suddenly appeared. Dense lightning flashed in the clouds, like silver snakes dancing ferociously. Rain, snowflakes, and thunder and lightning, three complex weather phenomena appeared at the same time. Lizzie's expression suddenly became serious. Something must be wrong when things are abnormal. This kind of weather phenomenon is the first time in the history of Alola. It is definitely not a good sign. Yu, I'm sorry, our island tour will be temporarily suspended. I need to find out the cause of this strange weather first. Lizzie said to Yu. It's okay, you can go. Yu understood that the island tour was a small matter and could be carried out anytime and anywhere. Moreover, it was just a rock-type Z pure crystal. Compared with it, this abnormal weather was different. If it was a rare accidental phenomenon that only happens once in 100 years, it would be fine. Everyone could take pictures and keep them as a souvenir. They could go out and talk about it and show off in the future. But if it was man-made, it meant that something big was going to happen, and it would definitely not be a good thing. Lizzie didn't hesitate to ride on the Wolfman and quickly ran to the weather station. There must be a reason for this extreme weather. Although Dr. Kiku was a little worried, as a teacher at the Pokémon school, his primary responsibility was to protect his students. He took everyone back to the Pokémon Center first. A special urgent news. Starting at 11 o'clock this morning, the weather in the entire Alola has become extreme. The four islands of Melamal Island, Alola Island, Pony Island, and Akira Island all suddenly fell into heavy snow, and there were thunder and lightning in the snow. The entire Alola was caught in an extreme weather. Please don't go out casually, especially children. It is forbidden to go out during this period to prevent danger. I just returned to the Pokémon Center and happened to hear the urgent news broadcast on the TV in the lobby. Kachi looked at Dr. Kiku with a puzzled face and said, what's going on? Akila Island has never had such weather. From the time he was born to now, Akila Island has never had such a situation. It's not clear yet, but at this time, you all stay in the Pokémon Center and don't go out casually. Dr. Kiku said seriously. He had never seen such a phenomenon before, but it was because of this that something different would happen. Look outside. At this time, someone suddenly shouted at the Pokémon Center. Yu and his group looked over and saw that many wild Pokémon appeared in groups outside the Pokémon Center, and they were moving in the same direction tacitly. Pidgeot and Scyther were all able to fly, flying in the sky. Gyarados, Milotic, Haxorus, Magic, and other water Pokémon were all swimming in the water. Only a group of land Pokémon that could neither fly nor swim were blocked at the coast, but their goal was also to move in the same direction. What on earth is going on? Lilia looked at Dr. Kuki, trying to get an explanation. This phenomenon had never been seen in the books. It's the instinctive reaction of Pokémon. Pokémon's sensitivity to nature is much stronger than ours. We can even say that without technology, we can't compare with Pokémon at all. And there is only one explanation for such a large-scale action that happened at the same time. A great disaster is coming. Dr. Kuki said sternly. Is there a disaster in Alola so soon? There is no sign. The instinctive reaction of the creature? Yu, who always felt that the picture was very familiar, heard Dr. Kuki's words and suddenly reacted. If you calculate the time, it seems to be about the same. It's time for that thing. He quickly opened the virtual map on his mobile phone and projected a virtual picture in the air, looking at the direction where all the Pokémon are moving. All the way forward, it happens to be the Orange Islands in the Kanto region. After closing the map, Yu breathed a sigh of relief. It's confirmed. It's the Orange Islands. In other words, it's the movie version, the story of Lugia. A collector whose name Yu forgot lived here comfortably. He wanted to go to the Orange Islands to capture Lugia. He captured Articuno, Raiden Bird, and Moltres successively. As a result, there was no exclusive god to control the weather and ocean currents, which made the weather system of the entire world disordered and in danger of destruction. It was also the first time that the world was in danger of destruction in the Pokémon animation. But overall it was not bad. It belonged to the known plot. Yu was still a prophet. It was not an unknown thing. It was beyond control. He solved it without his interference. It shouldn't be a big problem. Zyozzy will solve it. Zyozzy? Yu stood up suddenly, his eyes widened, almost popping out, and turned his head to look at Zyozzy who was standing next to him. Damn. Why are you here? Yu, what's wrong? Why are you looking at me like this suddenly? What's going on? Do you know? Zyozzy asked curiously. You are here. There is no one over there. Yu did not answer Zyozzy immediately, but began to think about a serious question. The Pokémon world has experienced countless crises of destruction. In the end, Zyozzy and Team Rocket work together to solve them. When the good guys and the bad guys join forces, there is nothing that cannot be solved. This is the consistent rule of long-running anime. But now, the good guy, Zyozzy, has come because of his Z move. The real bad guy, the real protagonist, was locked up in the police station by himself and has not come out yet. So, the Orange Islands now have no protagonists. The Orange Islands are going to end, the world is going to end, and I'm going to end too. Chapter 160 Departure to the Orange Islands. Mewtwo, can you help me? Yu looked at Mewtwo and said, what happened? Mewtwo looked at Yu and said, it also sensed a sense of uneasiness, not itself, but the world. Because there is a problem with God. It's too complicated to explain. You can use telepathy to sense my heart and quickly complete the information exchange. Yu said, and released the shielding protection on himself. Mewtwo's eyes flashed green, and superpowers enveloped Yu. After a while, Mewtwo showed a dissatisfied expression and said, it's another thing you dirty humans have done. That's what you say, don't be so naive, okay? I'm very pure. Yu argued, always like to be so naive, and always talk about all mankind, don't change. I won't change, what do you think? Mewtwo looked at Yu and said. Yu's eyes widened, and he quickly used the ghost power to surge to interrupt the connection with Mewtwo. He almost forgot that the connection was not broken. Leave now? Mewtwo said. Yes, by the way, Zyozzy, do you want to come with us? Yu looked at Zyozzy and said. Although Yu felt that he could do everything that Zyozzy did in the original book, what if Zyozzy had some special physique? Remember there was a controller. No matter what, take him with you. Even if he can't do anything, at least he can be a mascot. Do you need my help? Zyozzy asked in confusion. The world is going to be destroyed again, and you are needed to save it again. Yu said. Ah. The world is going to be destroyed again. Zyozzy's eyes widened. What's wrong with this world? How can it be destroyed just like that? Forget it, Muto, take us away with you, Yu said. Muto nodded, and his superpowers surged, covering Yu and Zyossi. He teleported directly, disappeared in the Alola region, and went to the Orange Islands. After several teleportations, Muto brought Zyossi and Yu to the core of this disaster, the place with the biggest storm. This is the Orange Islands? What's going on? It was fine when I left. Zyossi looked up in surprise, looking at the thick clouds, adding a sense of depression, full of confusion. What happened? The Orange Islands are obviously a southern island full of southern flavor. The climate is mild and the environment is beautiful, similar to the Orange Islands. It has only been a few months since we left. How come it has become like this? Yu, what is going on? Zyossi looked at Yu and said. Yu looked at Zyossi, thinking that Zyossi did not have the ability of Muto, and could only explain. In the legend, the Pokémon Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno are collectively known as the God of Thunder, the God of Fire, and the God of Ice. They assist the sea god Lugia to control the weather. Now, there is a capturer who wants to capture the sea god Lugia, so he wants to capture the 3 Pokémon and force Lugia to show up. Now the weather is chaotic, because the 3 bads have been captured, but we don't know how many have been captured. But if they are controlled, the world will be destroyed. Being captured is like a bad guy like Team Rocket, Zyossi said. It's worse than the 3 in your impression, Yu said. So, are we going to rescue the 3 Pokémon now? Zyossi asked. Yu was about to answer when suddenly the sea was turbulent, and a water spout of several hundred meters suddenly erupted from the water and rushed straight into the sky. A huge black shadow was looming in the water spout. Lugia. Yu's face changed suddenly. Have all 3 been caught? Such a fast efficiency? Boom, Lugia had just appeared, and a huge war fortress in the sky suddenly landed. The fortress released a terrifying electric current, sweeping towards Lugia like a thunderstorm, and then thousands of shells were projected from the fortress and hit Lugia all at once. Lugia's wings vibrated, tearing apart the water spout, and with a long whistle, the flying energy exploded, and the attack of the aerial fortress was extremely terrifying. The energy wave vibrated in all directions. Many Pokémon who were worried about this place and flew here were just affected and died on the spot and fell down. Muto sensed the terrifying energy wave and consciously stood in front of Yu to block the energy wave for Yu, and then said, "Is this the technology of you humans? It can actually be compared with himself." That's right, human technology, but such technological weapons are equivalent to the size of an army. What is the origin of this collector? Yu looked at the fortress in the sky with a solemn expression. This collector dared to come and die. He really has his ability. I don't know where he came from. While hesitating, Yu saw many high-tech weapons flying out of the aerial fortress, exuding terrifying power. Especially when some energy shells exploded, the originally chaotic cyclone in the sky became more chaotic and difficult to control. Lugia was actually a little defeated by the high-level weapons. These things are so familiar. Yu looked at the energy bombs exploding in the sky, and his mind was shocked. He suddenly remembered some Alliance information that he had read when he returned home after the Quartz conference. Hone has Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. Sinnoh has Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, the 3 dragons of Unova, and Kalos has the 3 gods of Ziz. Only Kanto has no mythical beasts. But it was not like this at the beginning. At that time, Kanto and Johto were still one region, and they had not yet been separated. Lugia and Ho-Oh were the patron saints of this region. The reason why there are no such gods now is that humans, with the rapid development of science and technology and the rapid expansion of their strength, have gradually lost their awe. Whether it is for gods or nature, it is the same. They began to think that the so-called gods are just Pokémon with stronger power. So they began to plan to capture and enslave them. In the end, the Bell Tower was burned down, and Lugia hid his whereabouts. Humans also realized that the sacred beasts are a symbol of nature. To attack the sacred beasts is to attack nature, which will eventually destroy humans themselves. If that war continues, the result will be the extinction of mankind. Re-establish awe of nature. Therefore, the theory of harmonious coexistence of humans and Pokémon advocated by a group of people headed by the Oak family became the mainstream thought, abolished all the weapons at that time, and established the system of the 3 families. the matter came to an end. Then for countless years, humans have been making up for it. Now the Whirlpool Islands in the Johto region and Asia Island in the Orange Islands have started to worship Lugia again, and Lugia has also accepted humans again. Among them, there is a piece of information that, in order to fight Pokémon, humans have invented many weapons specifically to restrain Ho-Oh and Lugia. These are: where did this guy get it from? And, is it an illusion? Lugia's strength is a bit weak. It feels about the same as Mewtwo, or even a little worse. This is a bit exaggerated. After all, he is the god of the sea. Do you need help? Mewtwo said. Yes, but I will contact Giratina first and ask what it thinks. Yu said, closed his eyes, sensed the situation of the reverse world, and then disrupted the magnetic field of the reverse world. Little Yi, what's wrong? You want to find me again? Giratina's voice sounded in Yu's heart. The magnetic field of the reverse world is disordered, and it can sense it at the first time. Big news, the 3 sacred birds were caught, and Lugia was beaten. Yu said concisely. Lugia was beaten? Giratina's voice suddenly rose a few pitches. Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but he heard a strong sense of gloating from Giratina's mouth. Soon after, Yu saw a huge whirlpool appear on the already turbulent sea surface. The hole in the dimension opened, and Giratina flew out of it, looking at the fierce battle in the sky with a look of curiosity. Chapter 161 Unlucky Lugia. Little Yi, tell me what's going on. Giratina said with interest. Read your mind. It's too slow to explain. Yu relaxed his mind again. Giratina finished reading quickly, and then said, so all of this was done by you humans? In recent years, you humans have developed really fast. There's no way. Humans have extraordinary talents in learning and destruction. Many aspects of your Pokémon have also been learned by humans using modern technology. At present, they can't create life like you, but they are no worse than you in destruction. Yu said. So the existence of creatures like you humans is troublesome. Giratina said with a tone full of disgust. Yu pulled the corner of his mouth and said, do you still want to eat Arceus jumping over the wall? It's barely a little bit of a redeeming feature. Giratina said again. Yu's mouth twitched, automatically filtering this point, and then said, Giratina, why do I feel that Lugia is not very powerful? It seems a little weak. In theory, it is also a first level god. But in the movie version, it has almost no dignity. It loses its strength after making a big move. It should be that the injury hasn't healed yet. Giratina looked at Lugia and said, is the injury healed yet? Who hurt him? Ho-Oh. Yu asked curiously. According to online novels, Ho-Oh and Lugia fought each other and then accidentally killed 3 Pokémon, so there were 3 entry. It makes sense. After all, it is well known that 2 great gods in the same region are natural enemies. Groudon and Kyogre are. Palkia and Dialga are also. Zekrom and Reshiram are also. Only Solgaleo and Lunala in Alola are better. After all, everyone is actually a kind of Pokémon in essence. Why did you think of Ho-Oh? Its relationship with Ho-Oh is the same as Solgaleo and Lunala you saw in Alola. How can there be hatred? And one of them is in the sky, responsible for atmospheric airflow, and the other is in the sea, responsible for ocean currents. What conflict is there? Giratina said. That's right, but Ho-Oh is in charge of airflow in the sky. Didn't he fight with Rayquaza? Yu said. Ho-Oh won't fly to the ozone. Only Rayquaza is a treasure there. Other Pokémon don't want to go there at all. And Rayquaza won't come down to where Ho-Oh is active. Giratina said. That's right. Who hurt Lugia? Yu said. The one who could hurt Lugia must be of the same level. Kyogre. Giratina said. Kyogre? Yu's eyes widened. One of them is in Hoenn and the other is in Kanto Johto. How could the 2 fight each other? The only thing they have in common is that Lugia is the god of the sea. Kyogre is the creator of the sea. They all live in the sea. Kyogre is idle. He wants to expand the sea every day and fight with Groudon. But when he expanded the ocean area, he didn't consider the changes in the ocean currents after the ocean expanded. In addition, he and Groudon fought back and forth. The ocean area was sometimes large and sometimes small, and the ocean currents were more troublesome. Lugia got angry, and then he fought. Giratina said. What was the result? Yu asked curiously. I don't know. They have nothing to do with me. I watched them for a while and then went to sleep. Giratina said. Fighting to the death is also in the outside world. It can't harm its reverse world. What does it have to do with it? Okay, but can you help? Yu said. Of course, humans. This kind of creature has been too jumpy recently. More than 10 years ago, they wanted to invade my world, and now they want to deal with Lugia. They are all going to die. Giratina's eyes turned fierce and turned into a shadow. The ghost power surged and filled the sky. Lugia and the collector who were fighting fiercely in the sky immediately noticed this. Seeing Giratina, Lugia immediately showed a strange expression on his face. It's strange. This guy, why is he not staying in his reverse world and coming to my place? Is he trying to steal my territory? The collector in the Sky Fortress saw Giratina suddenly appearing and also showed a strange expression. There is no such Pokémon in the data, and such power is really not simple. Search for information. The collector said to the artificial intelligence assistant. Search completed. The legendary Pokémon of the Sinnoh region, Giratina, lives in the reverse world. It is said that he was exiled to the reverse world because of his brutal nature. Another legendary Pokémon. I have one more in my collection. The collector said excitedly. But before he could get excited for long, a terrifying shadow flew from the ground, bursting with a destructive force like the destruction of heaven and earth, rushing into the Sky Fortress. The Sky Fortress trembled violently and began to explode violently. The collector's face suddenly changed. He realized a problem. These two Pokémon are top level collections, but he can't collect them alone. The weapons he got by all means can only restrain Lugia, but not Giratina. Although Lugia does not understand Giratina's motive for coming here for the time being, the most urgent task at the moment is to kill this Sky Fortress and rescue the 3 mythical birds. The rest can be put aside for the time being. The wings vibrated. Although they were not big, they had the ability to call the wind and rain. The sky was covered with dark clouds, the turbid waves were emptying, and endless thunder gathered in the sky. The terrifying storm swept and exploded on the Sky Fortress. The two beasts joined forces, and the Sky Fortress finally couldn't bear it. Many sparks began to burst, and it spontaneously ignited and exploded. Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno, who were trapped in the lower level of the Sky Fortress, finally had a chance to escape. Hot flames, bursting thunder, and biting ice burst out at the same time, constantly attacking the cages that imprisoned them. The collector's Sky Fortress was finally overwhelmed. 3 figures flew out of the Sky Fortress, and the 3 energies of fire, thunder, and ice rushed out. The entire Sky Fortress exploded directly, and fell into the ocean. So strong. Zyossi looked at the battle in the sky, and couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He made up his mind to become the strongest Pokémon master when he was very young, but in recent days, the worldview has been refreshed, and many Pokémon are too powerful. It's very strong. Yu said, they are all awesome bosses. Then the matter is resolved. Zyossi said happily, the bad guys were beaten away, and the matter was resolved. Solved. Yu looked up at the heavy snow that had not weakened at all. The weather was the key. This meant that things were probably more dangerous than expected. Sure enough, it seemed to verify Yu's expectations. The 3 divine birds that flew out of the Sky Fortress were caught innocently, and their anger completely burned their reason. So the first thing they did, after rushing out of the Sky Fortress, was to fight each other directly. Moltres sprayed a hot flame at the lightning bird, rolling flames, scorching and overbearing. It was the first to be caught, and just after being caught, the scum of the lightning bird came to grab its territory. In its territory, it left the mark of the lightning bird. Did you really treat it as dead? The lightning bird fought back without showing any weakness, and a terrifying electric current burst out, 100,000 volts across the entire sky. You left. What's wrong with me coming to grab your territory? The last Articuno also sprayed a cold current, and the freezing light froze the surroundings. Lugia had just blown up the Sky Fortress when he saw the battle between the 3 divine birds, and his face suddenly sank. You idiots, you just came out. Why are you fighting here instead of controlling the weather? Lugia vibrated his wings, blowing out a strong airflow, and the storm rolled up, hitting the 3 mythical birds, trying to make the 3 of them quiet down. But after Lugia launched the attack, the first reaction of the three mythical birds was to attack it together, almost knocking it out. What's going on? Aren't they all out? Sasaki said in confusion. Being locked up for no reason, so he got angry. Then his rationality was broken, or maybe his brain was really beaten out, and he attacked Lugia, but Lugia couldn't fight back. Yu said. With Lugia's strength, even if the three mythical birds joined forces, they couldn't beat it. But they couldn't make a move. Because the three mythical birds are different from ordinary third level beasts such as Entei, Suicune, Tapu, and Chime. Strictly speaking, those third level beasts are divine messengers. If the Phoenix King and others want to beat them, it's really like a father beating his son. But the three mythical birds are different. They really control the weather and play a very important and special role in nature. They are even more important than some first level gods. For example, the three dragons of Tao in the Unova region. In terms of strength, one can beat the three of them, but if they really die, the three dragons of Tao will die, and the impact on the world is not as great as these three. Looking at Lugia being besieged by the three mythical birds, Giratina did not make a move this time. Firstly, because the three mythical birds are very important to the world, it cannot kill them. If the action is too big, the god of space Palkia will come to find it, so there is no need to fight. Secondly, seeing Lugia being beaten by the three mythical birds makes me feel so comfortable. One by one, when there are messengers, they are all very arrogant. I'm alone in the reversed world. Now, I'm beaten by my own little brother. Do I feel comfortable? I really have no vision. I can't even choose my little brother. Look how good I chose, and I can talk, send food, and make movies. Chapter 162 Lugia's Return. Lugia, you seem a bit unlucky. Giratina floated in the air leisurely, and said ruthlessly. After hearing this, Lugia couldn't help but said, are you done yet? What on earth do you want to do here? If you want to help, hurry up. If you want to help, is this your attitude? Giratina looked arrogant. Lugia dodged the attack of the three mythical birds in a somewhat embarrassed manner, and said, what do you want? It's the same as everyone else. Something happened here, and your reversed world will also be affected. At most, I owe you one. Giratina listened and nodded slightly. This is not bad, and said, okay, I'll help you blow up the three. You don't need to do anything to blow them up. I can do it alone. But now we have to make them sober and calm down. Lugia said while beating them. The problem that can be solved by blowing it up. It would have been killed long ago. Why wait until now? Appease? Is it necessary to be so troublesome? What's the point of appeasement when something can be solved with a slap? Giratina said. If they are unconscious, it will have an impact on the world. This requires the help of humans. Help me find humans. Lugia said. This is easy. Zaioi, come and help. Giratina shouted to Yu on the ground. Zaioi. Lugia looked at Giratina in shock. When did you get so close to humans? I understand. Yu, who already knew the plot, of course knew how to appease them. First, go to the territory of Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno. Find the three treasures of Flame Orb, Lightning Orb, and Ice Orb respectively, and then bring them to the altar on Asia Island. After that, let the humans here play the sacrificial song. It's not difficult to follow the process. Let Sasaki contact the islanders first. Then take out the virtual map on the mobile phone and show it to Muto. Muto understands, and the superpower fluctuations on his body flash. He teleports again and appears on an island. Yu uses ghost energy to fly directly, search on the island, and soon find an altar. On the altar, there is a fiery red bead with a faint flame flashing inside. Flame Orb. Yu confirmed, took it down, and then repeated the above actions. Collect all three orbs. Moved instantly again, and came to the Asia Island for the sacrifice. You are finally here. Just as Yu and Muto arrived, a hippopotamus king looked at Yu and spoke in human language. What should we do next? Yu looked at the hippopotamus king. This hippopotamus king had a mysterious origin, but it was here and could speak. He had seen it in the movie version, so he just got straight to the point. No problem. Put the treasure into the altar, and then wait for the human priestess to play. The hippopotamus king said. Upon hearing this, Yu immediately took action and put the 3 orbs into the altar. In an instant, the altar emitted a strong green light, and a strange power spread in all directions with the altar as the center. Then, the girl that Zyossi found began to play a piece of music. The power of the music and the 3 orbs burst out at the same time, and a reassuring power surged in all directions. The 3 birds, whose brains were originally beaten to pieces, finally calmed down at this moment. The music seemed to have some kind of terrifying and majestic power. All the emotions of the 3 bads were soothed, and the strength in their bodies was still increasing. At the same time, Lugia felt that his body was much more relaxed, and his strength was greatly increased. Then, Lugia looked at the 3 birds, and began to speak Pokémon words that Yu couldn't understand. It seemed to be scolding. After that, the 3 bads flapped their wings, and went back to their homes. Lugia and Giratina landed. Giratina, is this human related to you? Lugia said with a strange look on his face. Of course, it's my messenger. Giratina said. Messenger? Lugia looked at Giratina, full of surprise. You actually look for a messenger? And it's a human. Of course, these days, how can you have the nerve to come out without 1 or 2 messengers? I'm a messenger. Although I'm useless, I'm just obedient and can't attack, and I can talk and cook for me. Recently, I made a movie for me. Although I have never wanted it, I'm so active. Giratina said with an extremely disgusted tone. Lugia looked at Giratina. Who are you alluding to? What do you mean, just obedient and can't attack? In the end, I still ignored Giratina and looked at Yu, but as I looked at it, my eyes fell on Mewtwo beside Yu and said, what kind of Pokémon are you? The power in you. It's called Mewtwo. As for its origin, it has its own privacy. Yu took the lead and said to Lugia, if you mention Mew again, believe it or not, you will have another fight in a minute. Lugia saw Yu's thoughts and didn't go into details and said, human, thank you for helping me. This world is beautiful, and I don't want it to be destroyed. Me too. Yu said. Thank you so much, then give me some real benefits in return. Giratina interrupted. Does it have anything to do with you? Lugia said. It's my man. Do you think it has anything to do with you? And I saved you. Giratina said. Lugia lowered his head and thought about it. Although he didn't want to admit it, what Giratina said was true. After thinking about it, he looked at Yu and said, I owe you something. If you have any requests, just tell me. I can help you complete something within my ability now. Help me? Yu hesitated a little. He came to help Lugia and really didn't think about asking for any benefits. After all, everyone is in the same boat. If there is a problem with the weather, the whole world will suffer. However, it seems wrong not to take the benefits. After thinking about it, Yu released Dragonite, then looked at Lugia and said, Hakoran has the ability to freely control the weather, but after evolving into Dragonite, it will lose this ability. Can Dragonite restore that ability? It would be better if it becomes stronger. The ability to freely control the weather? Dragonite, who had just come out and was still a little confused, heard these words, and his eyes suddenly lit up, looking at Lugia with expectation. Can I recover? Then let me recover. Everyone says that evolution is good, and I just believed it and evolved. As a result, after evolving, my weight increased by more than 10 times. From a cute and slender dragon weighing less than 40 pounds, it became a fat dragon weighing more than 400 pounds. Although it has more hands and feet, it can no longer glide on the ground like before, and its wings are not as comfortable as before. More importantly, it can no longer control the weather freely like before. It took a long time to learn how to pray for rain. Dragonite. Lugia saw Dragonite and showed a subtle expression on his face. Why can't I? Yu asked. You are the god of the sea. With a flap of its wings, it can blow up a storm that lasts for 40 days. Control the weather freely. Wind, rain, thunder and lightning, all easily. Lugia looked at Dragonite with a richer expression. If it was another Pokémon, it might not be able to do it. But Dragonite, it really can. To be precise, Dragonite was created by their clan. No problem. After a while, Lugia finally agreed. His huge wings vibrated, and powerful superpowers surged. The natural force of the ocean currents poured into his body, and his momentum instantly reached its peak. Then, His superpowers controlled Dragonite to inject a force into Dragonite. Dragonite felt a strong sense of discomfort and made an uncomfortable cry. Giratina, Dragonite will be fine. Yu looked at Giratina worriedly. Calm down, nothing will happen. Lugia is very skilled in Dragonite. Giratina said calmly. With Giratina's affirmation, Yu calmed down a little and watched Lugia's actions attentively. Superpowers continued to be injected into Dragonite, and Dragonite's aura became stronger. After a long time, a crystal-like blue bead appeared in the center of Dragonite's forehead, containing mysterious power. It has appeared. Yuyu's expression relaxed. The reason why Dragonite could control the weather was because of these 3 crystal beads. It was just that after evolving, it lost the beads, so it could no longer control the weather. Now, it has reappeared, which means that Dragonite has regained the powerful power to control the weather. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163 Happy Lugia. Well, this bead has my power. As long as it has this bead, it can change the weather at will. It also has my original power. If it comprehends it, this Dragonite will have great potential. Lugia looked at Yu and said, "Thank you." Yu said that Dragonite's strength has become stronger, and he has more confidence in participating in the Champions League. It's just a normal return. This is because you helped me, Lugia said. Helping you is helping the world. After all, this world belongs to everyone in Pokémon. Yu said. Yes, cherish the power you have now, Lugia said. Yu nodded, indicating that he would, but suddenly thought of something and said, Lugia, the 3 mythical birds, do you also owe me a favor? Of course, I owe them, and they naturally owe them too. Do you still want to find them? They don't have any extra power, Lugia said. No, I want my Pokémon to fight with them and experience the feeling of being strong. Can I live here for a month? Yu asked. I don't need power to be given, just close combat. Although the 3 mythical birds are called gods and have the power to control the weather, in fact, their fighting power is not that terrifying. They are at the peak level of the king. If they cooperate with the power of nature, they may give the champion a headache, but that's all. If they control their power well, they are the best sparring partners. Compared with the 3 of them, Guzma is weak. Okay, Lugia nodded. This is not a big problem. But, their power is not weak. Are all your Pokémon as strong as Dragonite? That's not the case. Yu released all his Pokémon, except Eevee and Alala. Camistottle, who had just come out, saw Lugia and immediately showed a surprised expression in his eyes. He ran to Lugia and bowed to thank him. Huh. Yu showed a surprised expression and looked at Lugia and said, do you know it? Do I know you? But at the same time, it was Lugia who lowered his head and asked Stottle, where did you come from, little turtle? Suddenly bowed to me. Kami seeing that Lugia didn't recognize him, Squirtle got anxious and started to gesture. After hearing this, Lugia showed a look of realization. It turned out to be you, the little turtle. Wait, what's going on? Yu looked at Jenga. Don't talk to yourself, explain it to me. I can't understand Pokémon in my normal state. Squirtle said that Lugia saved it. When it was a child, it ran out to play without telling Blastoise, and ended up encountering a huge water spout. It couldn't struggle out at all. It thought it was going to die in it, but was saved by Lugia. Jenga explained. I see. Yu nodded. Further down from Crimson Lotus Island is the Orange Islands. Squirtle's place of residence is really not far from here, at least not far for Lugia, so it is reasonable for the 2 to meet. As for Lugia not remembering Squirtle, that's even more normal. Lugia is kind-hearted and often rescues people and Pokémon in distress and sends them to shore. This kind of thing is done every year. In addition, it lives too long, so it is impossible to count the number of people and Pokémon it has saved. How can it remember that it has saved a Squirtle? Thank you, Lugia. Yu said to Lugia solemnly. What I did by the way is nothing compared to what you did to me. Lugia said. One thing is one thing. You have already repaid me for the help I gave you, but I have not yet repaid you for the help you gave me. Yu said. I'm helping this little turtle, not you. Lugia said. Same. I'm responsible for everything about my Pokémon, so if you help it, you have also helped me. You are worthy of being the god of the sea. Yu said. God of the sea. Lugia raised his eyebrows, showing a hint of joy and said, have you heard of Kyogre from the Hoenn region? The Pokémon that created the ocean and legend? Kyogre? Yu suddenly realized something, especially Lugia's expression. Ever since he had been with Giratina and Mewtwo day and night, Yu's judgment of the facial features and emotions of Pokémon has reached a superb level. Just now, Lugia's expression was definitely happy. Think about it again. Giratina just said that Lugia and Kyogre had a fight. Then many things will come naturally. Kyogre, pufferfish? Yu pretended to blurt out. Pufferfish. Lugia and Giratina were both stunned, as if they had never expected Yu to blurt out this word, but soon thought of Kyogre's appearance. Lugia was indescribably happy. Pufferfish, that's right, isn't that fat big head a pufferfish? Lugia, who had been about to leave, suddenly had the urge to have a long talk with Yu. He smiled and said to Yu, who do you think the god of the sea is? Of course it's you. You control the ocean currents, manipulate them freely, benefit the water Pokémon of the entire ocean, and constantly rescue people and Pokémon who fall into the water, and protect the peace of one side. If you are not the god of the sea, who is the god of the sea? Yu said righteously. You are the god of the sea. Unless Kyogre appears in front of me with the root wave, my answer will never change. But some people think that Kyogre is the creator of the sea, and it is it that expands the area of the ocean, so it is the god of the sea. Lugia said. Is it worthy of it? Isn't it just using rainfall and water power to call the wind and rain to expand the area of the ocean? Can't you do it? Hundreds of Gyarados together can also do it. Is this unique? No, it is not, and your manipulation of ocean currents is unique. The reason why the sea area is not expanded is for the overall balance between the ocean and the land. What's the point of blindly expanding it? Yu said. Lugia nodded silently. You're right. This guy's really good at talking. Kyogre, how can that pufferfish compare with me? I just don't want to expand. And the grace of giving birth is not as great as the grace of raising. Kyogre expanded the ocean area, and then what? Has it ever managed the sea? Has it ever controlled the ocean currents? Isn't it just hiding and sleeping in the deep sea? If this were in our human society, it would be a crime of abandonment. How can it compare with you? Yu said righteously. This sentence is sincere. To humans, Lugia, the god of the sea, is much more important than Kyogre. Even for most water-type Pokémon, Lugia is more important. Although this god of the sea has no water attributes. But the sea needs it. Lugia listened to Yu's words and nodded continuously. Right, well said. The grace of giving birth is not as great as the grace of raising. What did Kyogre do? He expanded the sea area and then didn't care about it. The changes in the ocean currents and the lives of the water-type Pokémon, weren't they all helped by me? I raised them all. I'm the god of the sea. No wonder Giratina accepted it as a messenger. What a good guy. Chapter 164. Card Turtle. I can fly too. Yu and Lugia had a great conversation. Lugia felt that they had met too late and was so happy that he felt that he had met his first confidant in his life. Yu looked more satisfied than ever before. He felt that the ability to control the weather again given to Yu by Dragonite was enough to repay a favor, but now he felt that it was not enough. He had to give something more. If Giratina hadn't gotten there first, this human should have been given to him. After thinking for a while, Lugia looked at Yu and said, do you want your Stottle to fly? 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 Yu looked at Lugia in surprise. You're right, aren't you? Stottle can fly? Not to mention Stottle, even Blastoise, even Mega Blastoise can't fly. If it can fly, Groudon will die with regret. Yes, it can fly. Squirtle can't, Blastoise can't, but Stottle can. Lugia said. Squirtle can do it? Yu looked at Squirtle strangely. There was something wrong with this statement. Is there something that only Squirtle has, but Squirtle and Blastoise don't have? Yu looked at Squirtle carefully and suddenly fixed his eyes on Squirtle's ears. The biggest feature of Squirtle That is different from Squirtle and Blastoise. Ears. Wing-like ears. Blastoise has triangular ears, and Squirtle doesn't even have ears. And can ears like this fly? Yes. There is a Pokémon that has already done it. Dragonite. Dragonite's ears are also wing-shaped, and they are bigger. Some Dragonites fly just like this, and their ears don't change, but some Dragonites fly, and their ears will more than double in size to fly. So, in theory, it's really possible. But Lugia has this ability. Does he give Squirtle this ability? Yu was thoughtful, and suddenly thought of Lugia's subtle expression, when he said that Dragonite would restore the ability to control the weather. Giratina blurted out, Lugia is very skilled in Dragonite. What does Lugia mean by very skilled? What does it often do? As we all know, the evolution of Dragonite into Dragonite is a rare mutation in evolution. Dratini becoming Dragonite is almost like a normal Dragonite growing up with 3 more beads, which is normal, they are the same species. But Dragonite is like a genetic mutation. In addition, there are subtle changes in many places. Dratini and Dragonite have the characteristics of molting and magical scales, but after evolving into Dragonite, both characteristics are gone, and they become mental power and multiple scales. What's more subtle is that, in addition to Dragonite, only Lugia has the characteristic of multiple scales. Dragonite evolves into Dragonite and gains a flying attribute, and Lugia just happens to have the flying attribute. Moreover, Dragonite was originally called not a quasi-god, nor a guardian god or a destroyer, but the incarnation of the sea. Can it be understood as the incarnation of the god of the sea? Who is the god of the sea? In the Pokémon illustrations, Lugia. Some things are nothing if you don't think about them, but if you think about them seriously, you will suddenly find them terrifying. 1 is a coincidence. 2 or 3. What did Lugia do? Yu felt that he had eaten a big melon, but he wisely did not speak up to explain the problem. Instead, he looked at Squirtle and said, Squirtle, do you want to fly? Pokémon matters still need to be consulted with the Pokémon themselves. Forcing one's will to override Pokémon is like playing with fire, and will be burned at any time. Squirtle nodded excitedly. Of course I want to fly. I, Squirtle, can fly too. From now on, I will rewrite the history of the Squirtle family. I will become the first Squirtle that can fly in the world, from ancient times to the present. Of course. In this way, I can fly back home in the future, and it doesn't matter how I wander around. Blastoise, it can't fly, and can't hit me. That's the best, thank you, Lugia. Yu said. It's okay. Lugia smiled calmly, and looked at Stottle. The power on his body surged and injected into Stottle's body. Stottle flew into the air. A pair of wing-like ears exuded a different kind of power, and the water power of his whole body surged. Although he didn't have the water system, this did not prevent Lugia from being the god of the sea, nor did it prevent Lugia from having a strong water power. Stottle floated in the air, absorbing Lugia's power. After a while, he fell from the air. Can you fly now? Yu looked at Stottle with some expectation. As a trainer, to be honest, he was also looking forward to the sight of Stottle flying. Not to mention, the flying ability is a bonus in the battle. When the opponent thinks you have nowhere to hide, you suddenly fly up and easily catch the opponent off guard. Just talking about the handsomeness of flying, Yu is full of expectations. And as the first flying Stottle, Stottle will definitely go down in history. Then Yu, as its trainer, will also go down in history. Although Yu is not greedy for that false reputation, and with his current ability, it is really easy to get into the textbook. But who wouldn't go in for free? As for glory, as long as it is not laborious, no one will dislike it. Stottle raised his head stupidly, his little ears moving, and then he shook his body hard, and his body actually rose slowly. Although it was a little shaky, it was really floating in the air. Feeling the body leaving the ground, Stottle let out an ecstatic cry. I can really fly. Blastoise, did you see it? Only when you get out, you will have a bright future. I'm the most outstanding cub on the island. Stottle fell into ecstasy, but accidentally, he fell down with a snap, and fell dizzy. Yu found it funny, and touched Stollet's big head and said, you will not be used to it at first. Take it slowly, you will definitely be able to practice well, and then you can fly whenever you want, just like Dragonite. Stolid tilted his head and showed a comfortable expression when he thought that he would be able to fly happily in the future. It's beautiful just to think about it. Next, I will tell Articuno and the others, if you want to go to them for training, just train. There will be no problem. Lugia said to Yu, then flapped his wings and flew away. Goodbye, keep in touch when you have time. Yu waved to Lugia. Top boss, if you wait for the energy to recover, you can make Dragonite's strength soar to a higher level. Sure enough, hugging thighs is the fastest way to become stronger. Still have time to keep in touch. Why are you so happy? It gave Stolit the ability to fly, but it also made Stolit never have to evolve in this life. Giratina said on the side. Ah. Yu showed a surprised expression and looked at Giratina. What's going on? Did Lugia hurt him? Something is wrong. Everyone was chatting happily. Have you ever seen a Blastoise with winged ears? Giratina asked back. Yu was stunned. There really is no such thing. So, if you want to fly happily, don't evolve. Looking at Yu's slightly frowned brows, Giratina was a little happy, flapped his wings and flew up, passed through the sea surface, and entered the reverse world. Yu blew the hair in front of his forehead in annoyance. If Giratina hadn't said it, he really wouldn't have noticed it. He was so happy flying that he forgot about the evolution. After evolution, the ears changed. Or there is a 1 in 10,000 probability that the ears do not change, but can those ears still fly? And the Blastoise has winged ears. A rough big turtle head with a pair of cute, soft winged ears. When Yu thought of that picture, his facial features twisted together. That was too inconsistent. Chapter 165, Movie Show in Champions League. Sent Lugia and Giratina away. Yu is going to find the 3 mythical birds to have a good chat and improve their relationship. Also see if there is anything else he can get. No matter how big or small, he is still a god. You can't treat shrimp as seafood. No matter how small a god is, he is still a big boss to Yu now. But before he could take action, his cell phone rang suddenly. Yu picked it up curiously and saw that it was his mother calling. He answered, "Mom, what's the matter? Why did you think of calling me today?" Hearing Yu's voice, his mother on the other end of the phone breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Smelly boy, luckily nothing happened. I asked you, where have you been? Lusamine told me that you left Alala without saying hello. Don't tell me that you went to the Orange Islands." Bingo, it's a bet. Your son is in the Orange Islands now. Yu smiled, but just as he finished speaking, his mother's roar came from the other end of the phone. "Smelly boy, you are so bold. Last time, you met Giratina and almost died there. Now the Orange Islands are obviously not safe, and you still run there? Do you want to die? You haven't even left any offspring yet." When Yu heard the first sentence, he put the phone away without thinking, with a scared expression on his face, not daring to refute, until he heard the last sentence. His expression suddenly collapsed. "What are you talking about? Asking you, an 11-year-old child, to leave offspring? Although I'm an adult according to the laws here, I'm still a child. Anyway, I'm fine, and I'm alive and well. Okay, that's it, bye." Yu spoke to his mother like a machine gun, and then hung up the phone. He took a deep breath. His mother was too cruel. However, not long after he put it down, the phone rang again. Yu picked it up, and saw that it was his Aunt Juicy. He pressed the answer button, and then said quickly like a crosstalk, "Aunt, I'm in the Orange Islands now. I'm safe. Nothing happened. You don't have to worry." After saying it in one breath, Yu exhaled heavily. He should not say anything else. However, just after he finished speaking, Juicy's puzzled voice came from the other end of the phone. "Why are you saying these things? I wasn't worried about you anyway." Yu's expression froze again. "I'll give you 3 more minutes to reorganize your words. I'm the only descendant of our family. There is no one else in the younger generation except me. Okay, your mother told me that you are alive and well. Why should I be in such a hurry? What happened in the Orange Islands? Why did you disappear from Alola so anxiously? What do you know?" Kiku asked. "Speaking of this, I also want to discuss with you. Were all the weapons used to deal with Lugia destroyed?" Yu said. "What do you mean?" This incident is indeed related to Lugia. Kikuko said, yes, it is like this. You told all these things in detail. Is the collector still alive? Kikuko said, not dead. Yu said, okay, Deki has gone there. When he arrives, just hand him over. You don't have to worry about what happens next. Now train your Pokémon well, and try to get good results in the Champions League. Kikuko said, no problem. In addition, the Champions League has an opening ceremony, right? Yu said, yes, which Grand Conference doesn't have an opening ceremony? Even the regional conference has one, let alone the Champions League. Kikuko said, then, Auntie, please discuss with President Damalanki whether this year's opening ceremony can be changed to a movie show. Yu said, show a movie? Are you kidding? The opening ceremony of the Champions League is almost the most grand conference in the world. It is notarized and sacred. Even advertisements cannot appear in the opening ceremony. At most, they can appear at the closing ceremony. You still want to show a movie? Those who allow you to show movie trailers are all crazy. Kikuko scolded angrily. Maybe he is crazy. Yu said, you are not serious. Kikuko on the other end of the phone said with a strange expression. The Champions League is broadcast, live in various regions around the world, right? Yu did not answer, but continued to ask a question. Xiao, don't mess around. Kikuko said, how can this be called messing around? I'm doing this for the good of the world, and it is also for the good of our family and the league. Yu said, don't make excuses. Kikuko said, tell me the truth, okay? Auntie, I'm just asking, is it a big credit that I gave Sasaki to President Damalanchi? Yu said, it's big. If you were already a member of the alliance, you would at least be in the position of your aunt, or even higher. It's just that you are not a member of the alliance yet, and you are too young, so I'll remember it first, but with our family, we won't be blamed. Kikuko said, but our family has one of the 4 heavenly kings, a congressman, a senior Interpol official, and the Sasaki family. Don't you think this is too big? I have such a big credit, and if I want to get it, President Damalanchi will owe it to me. How uneasy will he be? And if he is uneasy, it will be troublesome, right? Now I'm giving him a favor and paying it back. He's not happy. Yu said. Perverse logic. Kikuko said. Perverse logic, but it's also reasonable. Anyway, I want to use that credit to turn it into this big movie. Yu said. Are you sure? Xiao, don't mess around. With this credit, it will be much smoother for you to join the league. Kikuko said solemnly. No nonsense, auntie. For people with strength, credit is something that can be taken casually. Trust me, Yu said. On the other end of the phone, Kikuko frowned and thought. Catching Sasaki was a really great credit. She didn't want Yu to use it in vain, but she knew Yu's character best. Once she made up her mind, it would be difficult to change. After a long while, she said, okay, I'll talk to Damalanchi for you. But I'm not sure if it will work. I think as long as President Damalanchi is not crazy, he should agree. Yu said. Okay, next, when will we return to Kanto from Alola? Kikuko said. Immediately. I'm in the Orange Islands now. Then I won't go back to Alola next time. I'll train Pokémon here. When the time comes, I'll go directly to Sinop. See you in Sinop. Yu said. Train Pokémon in the Orange Islands? Is it convenient? Kikuko said. It's convenient. Lugia has said that the 3 mythical birds will serve as my sparring partners. Yu said. The 3 mythical birds will serve as your sparring partners? Kikuko's eyes widened. I heard from your mother that you met several guardian gods in Alola, and now you have the 3 mythical birds to help you. You are asking all the mythical beasts for help. No way. He is handsome. Our Kyojin family has superior genes. Yu said. Then keep it up. Play well in the Champions League, and don't embarrass our Kyojin family. Your aunt made it to the finals. Kikuko said proudly. Don't worry, I will never embarrass our Kyojin family. Yu solemnly agreed, then hung up the phone, flew up, and floated to the place where Moltres lived. Moltres, here I come. Mewtwo's superpowers fluctuated, and he took all the Pokémon with him and flew over. Everything was harmonious. Until a boy wearing a hat suddenly found a problem. No one took him away. Chapter 166. God Sparring. Dragonite. Storm. Orange Islands. Above the sea. Dark clouds covered the sky. Thick black clouds were everywhere, and rain poured down. An orange dragon flapped its wings and flew, and a water spout several dozen meters high blew up, as if reaching the sky, revealing a terrifying power that shocked people. At the same time, a sharp bird cry sounded, and a biting cold current drifted from the sky. An ice blue divine bird danced in the sky, and the air around it turned into ice crystals when its wings vibrated. With another cry, it rushed into the storm, shaking off the water spout. The dragon flew out directly, retreating dozens of meters before stabilizing. A golden light flashed in its mouth, and a destructive death light full of destructive power was emitted. The ice blue divine bird was not at all flustered, and it vibrated its wings, and a blizzard blew up in the sky, and the sea surface rose. A dragon and a bird fought in the air. The air around them was shaking, and the energy was surging. The residents on the island not far away saw this scene, but they did not show any panic expressions, but instead showed a little helpless look on their faces. Orange Islands, Asia Island. As the sacrificial residence of the gods, it has always been peaceful and calm. Until a month ago, everything changed. First, the god of fire, the god of thunder, and the god of ice had trouble, and then the god of the sea came out again. Finally, everything calmed down. As a result, the three islands were either snowing heavily on this island, or thundering on that island, or flames rolling, or even worse, all three of them came together. There was no day of peace. I don't know when it will end. Genji UI, use the most powerful shadow attack on Muto. You are now evolved, different from the previous Haunter form. Make full use of the ability of Kaya Space. Hide first and then fight. Yu said seriously. Now the fully evolved Jenga is no worse than Sukyun and others in terms of potential genes, and even better. In just 1 month, 4 indicators have exceeded the level of the king, and it is not yet at the limit. Just because of this, Jenga can't control its own power. The ghost energy on Jenga's body surged, turning into a black shadow, completely disappearing without a trace, hiding in the space. Muto's eyes moved slightly. Because of Jenga's sudden strength, the only one who could be its opponent was Muto. After Yu borrowed some rare ancient books for Muto, Muto agreed to take out an hour of reading time every day to give Jenga special training. But Jenga's situation was indeed beyond Muto's expectations. Although it was still a long way behind it, it had indeed risen to a certain level. Especially its ability to control the reversed space had improved by leaps and bounds. Even now in reality, it could temporarily enter the subspace, which was extremely secretive and difficult for it to sense. Now it has even reached the point where it could not sense it. While he was thinking, a powerful force suddenly erupted on one side of him without any warning. Even Muto could not dodge it in time. He could only respond hastily and prop up a blue energy shield on his body to resist this strong ghost power. The energy exploded, the frost burst around him, and Jenga's purple figure reappeared, with his hands on his hips, full of pride. He succeeded, and Muto did not discover it in advance. But its pride didn't last long. A shadow ball suddenly came out from the shadows and hit Jenga head on. Jenga immediately flew out like a kite with a broken string. Then, Muto, protected by a blue energy ball, floated out. Jenga didn't hurt it. Before Jenga's sneak attack, it used its psychic power to form an indestructible barrier around its body. It was naturally impossible to break it with Jenga's power, but Giratina would be about the same. Muto was very unhappy to be successfully defeated by a little guy that it could beat up easily. As it happened, Jenga was still showing off in front of it. Who else should it beat? Looking at Muto, who was beating Jenga with its psychic power, Yu gave Jenga a look of may the best come to you, and then watched the training of other Pokémon silently. After all, it couldn't beat Muto. Moreover, Jenga needed to be trained hard now, and it would be good to be beaten up. Armored Warrior, Water Flow Breaks. On the other side, Guzma's command sounded. Yu planned to stay here permanently, and Guzma naturally came as his sparring partner. The Armored Warrior moved like the wind, and the water power on his body surged. A sharp blade made purely of water flow appeared out of thin air in the hand of the Armored Warrior, slashing at Squirtle as fast as the wind, and could cut gold and jade. Squirtle suddenly sprayed a fierce stream of water on the ground, and his body flew into the sky with a force. Then, his two wings quickly vibrated and flew in the air. Then, the cold air flashed in his mouth, bursting out with an extremely cold light, and attacked the armored warrior directly. The armored warrior was not panicked by the sudden change, and skillfully raised his hands and used his shell to block it. The armored warrior was not afraid of the biting cold. Since the trainer broke the knot in his heart, he also broke through his own knot and no longer escaped when he encountered danger. It should be said that he deeply realized his own strength. After blocking the attack, he was about to fight back, but found that there was a layer of ice on the shell of his arms, and his speed was forced to slow down. The flying cardstottle in the sky was infinitely happy, flying freely in the sky and making a mocking laugh. However, while flying, he was inexplicably hit by a sudden ball of flames, burning his face black, and suddenly became depressed. Looking at the side, Molter's wings vibrated, and the vortex of flames continued to burst out, burning half of the area red, and the land was burned red and almost melted. Flame Horse galloped in the flames, with a vigorous posture. Although Molter's is the god of fire, its strength is not as strong as that of the Phoenix King, and it cannot be completely immune to its fire-starting characteristics. Bathing in Molter's flames, tempering its own flames, it suddenly sprayed, and a big flame burst out, hitting Molter's in the sky. Molter's moved its wings and dodged to the side, and the big word burst out, hitting the lightning bird who was calling the wind and rain and playing thunder on the side. Flames and lightning met, and unexpectedly, a burn mark appeared on the wings of the lightning bird. Its face, which was not good looking to begin with, became even more gloomy and ugly. It stared at the flame bird angrily. "How could a little devil you trained hit me? What about its strength?" The flame bird ignored it and looked at the flaming horse on the ground with aloofness. A light blue light appeared on its body. The phantom of the divine bird emerged and hit it fiercely, rushing towards the flaming horse. Seeing that the lightning bird ignored it, the lightning bird suddenly became angry, and its feathers exploded, and 100,000 volts were ready to go. But before it was released, a dazzling destructive death light rose up from the ground, hitting it accurately and knocking it away. The lightning bird was furious again, staring at the Absol underground. "You little devil, a close-range fighter actually likes to attack from a distance, and the power is still very strong." The electric current spread all over the body, and every feather of the lightning bird burst into powerful vitality. The dark clouds behind it continued to gather, and the thunder and lightning were thundering, and the momentum was shocking. Fire, ice, and lightning. The three energies are equally powerful, but which one is the loudest and most impressive? It is definitely lightning. Absol was not afraid, and looked at Zapdos with a proud expression. Yu relied on constantly showing his face to successfully conquer a group of mythical beasts. Let the Pokémon under his command fight according to their attributes. Dragonite and Articuno learned how to resist ice-type tricks during the battle, or simply took more hits to enhance their ability to withstand beatings. Flamahorn and Moltres have corresponding attributes, so there is nothing to say. As for Zapdos, it was originally supposed to fight with Raichu, which has the same attribute, but Raichu was arranged in Alola and Tapu Chirp, both of which are third level gods with similar strength, so Yu did not let Raichu come. In fact, even Squirtle studied in Alola with Tapu Chirp for a period of time, and came back to fight with the armored warrior after learning watering. So in the end, it was Absol and Zapdos who fought. Although the attributes were not related at all, the results were remarkable. The ability to resist electricity has greatly increased, and the three values of close attack, long range attack and defense have reached the level of aqua seeking. The terrifying electric current is violently released, as if destroying the world. Absol's eyes widened, bathing in the thunderstorm, struggling to use the air slash, swinging at the lightning bird. On a plane flying over here, Professor Oak watched this scene and was surprised. "I know that this kid is training in the Orange Islands, but I didn't expect you to train like this. With the three sacred birds as your companions, you are going to defy the heavens." Chapter 167. Dr. Oak, he is anxious. Yu. Looking at the ice, snow, thunder, and flames in the sky, Professor Oak wisely did not let the plane approach, but used the plane's loudspeaker to call Yu remotely. Yu, who was immersed in the battle, was stunned for a moment, thinking that it was an auditory hallucination. After listening carefully, he found the plane in the sky. He called a halt and asked the Pokémon to temporarily stop training. The weather returned to normal and the thunder dispersed, allowing Professor Oak's plane to land safely. After the plane landed, Professor Oak came out, but he did not immediately look for his target Yu. Instead, he walked towards the 3 mythical birds with shining eyes. These are all legendary Pokémon. They are regarded as godlike legends. As the first researcher of the Alliance, he did not have much information, but now he saw them all. Excited, Professor Oak even touched the 3 Pokémon directly. Grandpa Oak, wait. Noticing Professor Oak's actions, Yu hurriedly spoke out to stop him. The tempers of these 3 Pokémon are not particularly good, and they are almost brainless. How smart do you expect a Pokémon that gets its brains knocked out after being caught once to come out? If Yu didn't have Lugia to back him up, and there was Mewtwo, who was stronger than the 3 of them, these 3 wouldn't be honest. But in front of an old man full of academic research desire, Yu's stop was obviously too slow. Before he finished speaking, Professor Oak's hand had already touched Zapdos, and then the whole person turned into a piece of black charcoal in an instant, falling straight down, stiff all over, black skin, and grey hair standing up. Yu's mouth twitched. Sure enough, Pokémon researchers sometimes go crazy, much crazier than trainers. He said to Mewtwo, "Give me face." Another wave. Mewtwo heard it, stretched out 3 fingers, and the green wave full of vitality spread out, covering Professor Oak's whole body. Professor Oak, who was electrocuted into charcoal, slowly got better. Yu nodded with satisfaction, the result of his training. In the past month, in addition to the crazy training of these Pokémon in his hands, he also trained Mewtwo. It can be regarded as the reward for Mewtwo's sparring. Yu found the training method of self-regeneration trick on the internet. Let Mewtwo learn it. Mewtwo naturally does not reject this kind of self-recovery trick. Then, after learning self-regeneration, it will naturally learn similar healing waves. After Mewtwo's treatment, Professor Oak exhaled comfortably and stood up again. It is worthy of the legendary power of the God of Thunder, much stronger than the power of Zyos's Pikachu. Compared to this, I'm more concerned about Grandpa Oak. Are you okay? Yu said, although Mewtwo's healing wave is very effective, but you are so lively, it is a bit unscientific. It is worthy of being a real newcomer. Of course, I underestimate your Grandpa Oak, right? Your Grandpa Oak, your body is great. Professor Oak said proudly. Yes, my Grandpa Oak is still as good as ever, and he is strong. He can beat 10 of me by himself. Yu agreed with a smile. It's not that exaggerated. 3 is enough. Professor Oak said with a smile. After a few jokes, Yu said, Grandpa Oak, why did you come to me? You still ask me why I came to you. The Sinnoh Champions League is in a week, and you are still here, refusing to leave. Didn't you forget the time because of training? Hurry up and pack your things, and go to Sinnoh with me. It just so happens that Professor Yamanashi and I have a meeting to study, so I'll take you with us. Didn't your dad tell you about this? He said he sent you a text message. Professor Oak wondered. Oh, my phone is at Lily's house. I didn't receive it. Yu said, he is basically here, but because Mewtwo's teleportation is so convenient, so he often goes back to Lily's house. After all, Raichu and Eevee are still in Alola. As for the time of the Champions League, he didn't forget, but he was not in a hurry at all. Mewtwo's teleportation. If Mewtwo's teleportation can't solve the problem, there's still Giratina's reversal space. If it really doesn't work, Dragonite's super high-speed flight will only take a few hours. However, Professor Oak has come all the way here with so much trouble, and he doesn't want to let the old man go for nothing. Come to think of it, it's almost time. In the last week, don't think about any sprint. It's more important to adjust your condition. Don't ask for extraordinary performance, just a normal level is fine. Is your phone in Alola? Professor Oak looked at Mewtwo on the side and vaguely felt that he was worrying a little bit about nothing. It's just that, when they met last time, he still looked indifferent. Why is he so easy to talk to now? Nothing. I'll go back to Alola first, pack up my things, and take Raichu and Eevee with me. Grandpa Oak, come together and take a look at your Alala form by the way. Yu said. What Alala form? That's my cousin, Oak Chengai. Professor Oak said unhappily. Yu shrugged. That's what he said. But you two look at least 90% alike. Apart from your skin color, there's almost no difference in appearance. If it's not the Alala form, what else could it be? Okay, Mutuo, I'm bothering you again. Yu looked at Mutuo. Mutuo said nothing, and his superpowers surged. How should I put it? He's already used to it. In the past month, Yu has used his superpowers every day, shuttling between Alala and the Orange Islands. He also gradually adapted to his identity as a tool dream from his initial resistance. Finally, Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos, goodbye. Don't miss me too much. I'll come back to see you when I'm free. Yu said goodbye to the three bads before leaving. After all, they've spent a month together. Although these three don't have good brains, they're still friends, so they have to say goodbye seriously. But after they confirmed that Yu was leaving, the three bads didn't have any parting melancholy on their faces. Instead, they were extremely happy, laughing joyfully, and flying in the sky. This scourge is finally gone. Life is peaceful again. Go back to sleep. Yu, who had not yet returned, saw this scene and his face suddenly turned black. You three fools. It seems that your popularity among Pokémon is worse than I thought. After arriving in Alala through Mutuo, Professor Oak did not look at the surrounding scenery at the first time, but teased Yu. Grandpa Oak, gloating over others' misfortunes is not in line with your personality at all. Are you jealous of me? Yu looked at Professor Oak and said, nonsense. After hearing this, Professor Oak immediately turned his head and looked at Yu with a glaring look. I'm jealous of you. When I was adventuring, you didn't even know where you were. During my travels, I don't know how many legendary Pokémon became friends with me, like Silly and Johto, who regarded me as his closest friend. Yeah, Yu nodded, looking like he was being taught, and then suddenly said, then Grandpa Oak, why are you so anxious? Professor Oak's old face turned red, and he turned his head to look aside. Sure enough, this kid is not cute. When he grows up, Xiaomao, that rascal, has never contacted me since he got a girlfriend, except for sending Pokémon back. Yu, this kid, was pretty good before, but now he likes to hurt my heart. After all, Xiaozi, who said he would help me, but ended up running from the Orange League to Alala, is better. Although he is not very reliable, at least he doesn't hurt me. Chapter 168 Departure to Sinop. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for your care during this period. You can watch my Champions League live on TV when you have time. At the Alala Pier, Yu said goodbye to the Alala friends who came to see him off. Goodbye, everyone. Lily also waved to everyone. She temporarily suspended her studies again. The official reason was that she wanted to go to Sinop to see if there was any news about her father. The personal reason was that as Yu's intelligence expert, she needed to go along. In short, the final result was that she, Xiaoxu, Guzma, and Bull Beauty who wanted to follow Guzma all followed. Goodbye. After this semester, I will also follow you and Xiaozi to challenge the league. Kachi said. After being left on Asia Island by Yu, Xiaozi decided to continue the challenge of the Orange Islands. After thinking about it, after asking Yu to send Xiaoji and Xiaoxia there, he headed to the next gym. A few days ago, he just won the Orange League Winner Cup, the first important championship trophy in his life. I'm waiting for your pursuit, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the Champions League. Yu smiled and said goodbye to Dr. Kuki, Principal Okinariya and others one by one, preparing to set off, and suddenly heard a loud sound of waves. Just curiously looking over, I saw an unknown creature rushing from a distance, where the water and the sky meet. Stepping on the water, like floating on the water, crossing the sea, walking on the waves, and then suddenly leaping up and landing steadily on Yu's boat. Bear Mom, Cousin, Musashi, Miyawa. Yu looked at the group of creatures in front of him in surprise. The three members of Team Rocket have been locked up in the police station since they appeared in Alala. But the police station obviously can't hold the three of them. In the end, they escaped from prison and tried to snatch back their stolen Pokémon from Yu. As a result, Yu asked Bear Mom, to take care of them, and they became what they are now. Bear the bear in the suit made an intimate call to Yu. You want to go with me and watch me play in the Champions League? Yu vaguely understood what he meant. Bear wearing bear showed a joyful expression, indicating that Yu was right. And, you were worried about them, so you took them with you? Yu said, looking at the three in wearing bear's arms. Bear wearing bear hugged the three tightly, with a happy expression on his face. It's not that you are worried, but you like them? You don't want to leave? Yu guessed. Wearing bear nodded happily again. Yu also nodded, then looked at the three Pokémon and said, how does it feel to be locked up during this time? How does it feel to lose Pokémon? Cousin, I was wrong. Give me back Venusaur and Ghastly. As soon as Yu finished speaking, Kajiro pounced on him, hugged Yu's thighs tightly, and cried. It was not a problem originally, but I have already sold them. Yu said. Sold? Kajiro's voice suddenly rose 8 degrees, and he looked at Yu in disbelief. How could you sell it? Isn't this what you three do most often? Yu said. Before meeting Ozzy, the three guys actually had a high completion rate in Team Rocket. They definitely handed in their Pokémon for sale. But those of Venusaur and Ghastly, they are different. Kajiro shouted. What's the difference? Yu asked back. Other people's Pokémon are like grass, but yours are precious. Kajiro was speechless and didn't know how to answer. Musashi on the side heard it and went into a frenzy and said, what? You sold my Arbok and Little Tongue? Are you looking for death? He was about to rush out, but he couldn't break through the embrace of the bear, so he could only speak furiously. Angry and angry, keep it up, and feel the feeling of a person whose Pokémon was robbed by you. Yu looked casual, turned around and walked towards the control room to start the ship. Professor Oak looked at Musashi and the others without saying anything. The debt owed will always be repaid one day. Guzma had a look of disdain on his face. It was ridiculous that he was such a bad villain. At the Alola Pier, Kachi and his group reluctantly sent Lily away, feeling down. There was reluctance to send off a friend, but also a little envy. It was better to be there in person than to watch the live broadcast in front of the TV. That was the biggest event in the world. Looking at the depressed expressions of his classmates, Dr. Kuka's mouth curled up slightly and said, after the farewell, everyone go back to school and then go home and tell your parents that we will have remote outdoor teaching this week and go to Sinop. Going to Sinop. Kachi and his group were stunned at first and then looked at Dr. Kuki with joy and said, Doctor, you didn't lie to us, did you? You said that we can go to Sinop, then we can watch Yu's game. Of course, this is the biggest event in the world. How can we just watch it on TV? Only after it's over, you will know how vast the sky outside is, and what the Pokémon League is, and then we can hold our own league in Alola. Dr. Kuki said. Only after this, the next generation of Alola can officially look forward to the Alola League. The future is always in the hands of these next generations. Even if Yu makes Alola famous, the hope of Alola still lies in these students in the end. Thank you, Professor. The 4 students of Kachi said in unison, their faces full of joy. Whether it is seeing friends again, or going to travel and teach in other places, they all like it. Professor Kuki smiled slightly, not caring, and said, then go back and finish today's class, and then prepare well. But, Professor, since you are leaving, why don't you leave with Yu, Lily and others today? Shulian asked curiously, wouldn't it be better for everyone to go together? Because, we are not players. If we go so early, the Champions League hasn't started yet. What are we going to do? Professor Kuki smiled, and going now, and going at the right time will take a full 7 days. The expenses during this period are counted by ourselves. Save as much as possible. Oh. The students nodded one after another, and then began to look forward to the life of the analysis in Sinop. The Champions League is where the best trainers from all over the world gather. At the same time, a ship also set out from the Ether Paradise, the only artificial island in Alola. In the ship, a blonde boy looked towards Sinop with a hint of hostility on his cool face. Gladian, Lily's biological brother, the most outstanding trainer among the younger generation in Alola. In order to become stronger and to protect his sister Lily, he left the Alola region alone to travel and train himself and his strongest trump card, Silver Companion. He rushed back because he heard that his father was not dead. but after returning, he found that his clingy sister had changed. She ran away with someone. Now, Gladian is going to go and see the person who kidnapped his sister. Chapter 169 Arrangements for Team Rocket. The moonlit night was quiet, and a ship was quietly sailing on the sea. Yu turned on the automatic sailing mode. He was lying on the bed, holding two cute little ones, Rachel and Evie, and sleeping soundly. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Yu shook his head unhappily. Who was disturbing his sweet dreams in the middle of the night? Believe it or not, I will kick you into the reverse world. With an angry mood, Yu got up from the bed, opened the door, and saw Kojiro standing upright outside the door, looking haggard, with an indescribable loneliness all over his body. Come to find me? Yu suppressed the anger in his heart, and looked at Kojiro. Is it true that I will no longer capture other people's Pokémon? Just tell me where you sold Venusaur and Ghastly. Kojiro looked at Yu and said, come in and talk. Yu led Kojiro in, then shook his head to stay awake, and then carefully covered Raichu and Eevee with a small blanket, then sat on a chair beside him, looking at Kojiro and said, do you want to take back Venusaur and Ghastly now? Yes, they are all my Pokémon, I want to take them back. Kojiro said, okay, but if you don't catch Pokémon anymore, what are you going to do in the future? How to make a living? Yu said, this is not a problem. Since I met the little devil, none of my capture operations have been successful, and the rocket team has not paid me a salary. I originally relied on working to make money to support myself. Kojiro said, that's right, forget that others become villains, or are forced to be oppressed by reality, or are greedy for benefits, but you are different, you are a hobby. My silly brother. Yu sighed. When Kojiro heard this, his eyes showed a resentful expression. You also know that I'm your brother. Those who don't know will definitely think you are my brother. Forget it, we are a family, so let's not talk about it. If you want to get back Venusaur and Ghastly, it's very simple. Just promise me two things. Yu said. You say. Kojiro's expression lit up. First, find a way to find those Pokémon you caught before. I don't care how to find them. I just want the result. I believe you can do it. If you want to get out there, you have to get out there. You can't just say sorry and pretend nothing happened. Yu said. I'll do it. Kojiro nodded. This is not easy, but if you work hard, you should be able to do it. Second, continue to capture Satoshi's Pikachu, but don't hurt others. Yu said. Continue to catch Zhi's Pikachu? Catch it for you? Zyojiro asked curiously, but Zhi is not your friend? Do you have ideas about your friend's Pokémon? This is not okay, Zyou. If you do this, I will tell your aunt. Yu looked up at Zyojiro and said in surprise, it's rare to see you act like a brother in front of me. But don't worry, I don't want Zhi's Pikachu. If I wanted it, I wouldn't look for you. If you catch it one day and send it to me, the world will be destroyed. After the Orange Islands, Yu felt that it would be better for him not to change the trajectory of the world's development at will. Otherwise, he would have to run around. Although it is profitable sometimes, what if he doesn't take care of it at some point, or he has other things to do and doesn't want to go? So, it's better to keep everything as it is, and you continue to love and kill each other forever. You look down on me, Zyojiro said angrily. Then are you going to do it? Yu said. Fuck. Kojiro said without thinking. They have been chasing for so long, it doesn't matter if they continue. Okay, go back to sleep. Yu said. What about my Vapormax and Venusaur? Kojiro said. Go back to sleep now, and they will appear by your side when you wake up tomorrow. Yu said. Tomorrow? So soon. Thank you, Kojiro. Kojiro was overjoyed, picked up Yu, kissed Yu on the face, and then rushed out. Yu wiped the saliva on his face with disgust. Damn it, two men are kissing each other. You are not disgusted. I am. Besides, what are you thanking me for? I'm the one who snatched your Pokémon away, and you are still thanking me. Do you have Stockholm Syndrome? He closed the door and planned to go to bed, but his old illness came back, and he couldn't fall asleep. Then, he heard a fool's laughter next door, with a helpless look on his face. Why is this guy his cousin? If the roles were reversed, and I were his brother, I would beat him 3 times a day. After complaining a few words, he couldn't help but smile a little. In this bustling world, where everyone comes for profit and leaves for profit, it is a great fortune to meet a simple person. You will never be such a person in his life, but he prefers to get along with such people. And he has only met 2 such people. One is Zaozi, and the other is his useless cousin. He is obviously unspeakably gentle, but he insists on doing things that are not suitable for him. If you don't know him, it's fine, but since you know him, you won't let you live such a miserable life. Forced by Musashi to exchange for Venus Flower, forced by Sasaki to hand over all the Pokémon in Unova, and dare not take the Pokémon of Alola back to Kanto. But, I really can't sleep, so I look particularly distressed. It's the middle of the night, and I can't find anyone to chat with. Looking at the white wall, Yu frowned. He was bored in the middle of the night. How about turning into a ghost and going to the room of Zyaksu and Lily next door? Entering their dreams directly would not only not disturb their sleep, but if he was lucky, he might even see some beautiful spring scenery. Thinking of that scene, Yu's smile gradually became distorted. Then, he silently took out Jenga's game console and played games. This kind of thing is beautiful just thinking about it. But it's just thinking about it. It's too disgusting to do it. Click directly into the game that Jenga usually plays the most and log into his account. As soon as he went online, a message floated across the screen, indicating that a player was online. Jenga had only set this kind of special attention information once, so there was no doubt that it was the EV in Sharona's house. Buai just after going online, a voice message came over. Yu looked confused. He didn't understand, but he didn't leave his soul to listen, because there was no need, because the main target group of this game is not people, but Pokémon. It is specially designed for Pokémon, so the communication inside is voice, and Pokémon language is used for communication. After all, it is really too difficult for Pokémon to type. The invention of this game has solved the troubles of many trainers who do not pursue professional battles, and successfully gave their pets a tool to pass the time, so that they can have fun, even when the owner is not there. Therefore, it is widely sought after. But the game is to make money. So while providing a recharge channel for trainers to recharge Pokémon, they also provided a parent system in a crazy way. You can always listen to the communication between your Pokémon and other Pokémon to prevent premature love. It just needs to recharge. But Yu is obviously not a person who lacks money, so he decisively recharged VIP and then listened. Little brother, are you online? Didn't you say that the training these days is crazy and you don't have time to play games? Fortunately, the training is over. We have set off to Sinop. Wait for me. Yu imitated Jenga's words coquettishly to communicate. Fortunately, Jenga can speak human language, otherwise he can't imitate it. Oh, I'm waiting for you, little brother. Ibrahimovic's voice was full of excitement. Okay, let's start the dungeon. Yu said. Yeah, hurry up, I don't have much time. My master is excavating some ancient ruins for several days, day and night. Now that she is asleep, I have time to go online. Ibrahimovic said. Excavating ruins? Yu raised his eyebrows. As expected, Sharona is worthy of being a natural champion. She is not a champion yet, but she already has the champion disease. She treats professional trainer as a side job. The Champions League is coming soon, and she still has the mind to do archaeology. In the Sinnoh region, in an unknown ruins, Sharona, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly turned over, frowning slightly, wondering if she had a nightmare. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170, Strong Men Gather. Finally we're here. The ship stopped at the dock of Suzerain Island. Yu jumped off the ship, stood on the ground, and stretched comfortably. Humans are indeed land creatures. The feeling of standing on land is better than on the deck. We are here. Why are you so excited? You're like a monkey, and I, an old man, don't complain. You're so young, but you're worse than me? Professor Oak stepped down from the ship step by step, scolding Yu unhappily. Yes, yes, you're still strong. How can I compare with you? Yu said. He didn't want to argue with Professor Oak. In fact, he was tired of sitting a few days ago and wanted to discuss with Muto to cheat here. But Professor Oak didn't. He righteously educated Yu not to indulge in shortcuts. Seeing Yu begging for mercy, Professor Oak stopped preaching. Which is more important, the result or the process? This is a philosophical question. Normally, the result is more important than the process. No matter how hard you try, or what you get in the process, failure is failure. But the reason why this question is worth discussing is that in this life, only the moment of death can there be a result, and other than that, any result is considered part of the process. Therefore, some people think that the process is more important than the result. In Professor Oak's opinion, for the 11-year-old Yu, the process should be more important. Accompanying Yu these days, he has a deeper understanding of Yu's strength. Those who come here to participate in the Champions League can be said to be genius trainers. And Yu is a monster among geniuses. A Jenga that even Professor Oak can't see through. A Dragonite at the primary level of the King to Quasi-King Pokémon. And a Flamahorn that is about to enter the Quasi-King level. The worst Squirtle can actually fly. What kind of Linoop is this? Except for EV, which has not yet grown into combat power, every one of Yu's hands is a monster. This Linoop, a genius trainer in the general sense, will not be able to put together until he is 20 years old. As a result, he is only 11 years old. In the past, with such strength, the probability of becoming one of the 4 heavenly kings was 60%. Once in, Yu would break the record. That's why Professor Oak educated him solemnly. Yu didn't know all this. After all, he was also a copy of Conan. Under the appearance of 11 years old, he had the heart of an adult. It's just that he respects the old and loves the young. On these small issues, he always tries to follow the old people. Professor Oak, you are here too. And Xiaoyao, you are here too. Yu and a few others were talking and laughing. Suddenly, another ship was about to dock. A girl on the deck waved to them enthusiastically. Yu turned around curiously. Can I meet an acquaintance here? Looking closely, a royal sister with long silver grey hair appeared in front of him. She had a pretty face and wore a bold belly exposing outfit, but there was a faint evil smile on her face. Sister Lihua. Yu saw the other party and smiled. When the ship reached the shore, Lihua got off the ship with her luggage, followed by 2 companions. One had the same hair color as Lihua, and her face was about 50% similar to Lihua. She looked younger, so she should be Lihua's younger brother. The other was a handsome middle-aged man, dressed meticulously, and Yu didn't know his identity. Hello, Professor Oak, this is my younger brother Lee K, and my friend I met on the ship, Mr. Kyan Lee, who is here to participate in this Champions League. Lihua greeted Professor Oak first. Hello. Professor Oak greeted the 2 people kindly, without any ceremony. Yu looked at the middle-aged man in surprise and said, Mr. Kyan Lee, you are a trainer who is good at using the Leaf King, right? Yes, I like Pokémon like the Leaf King. How do you know mine? Kyan Lee asked curiously. Nothing, I just heard from my aunt that there is a trainer named Kyan Lee who is very good and can train Pokémon like the Leaf King into top combat power. Yu said nonchalantly. Kyan Lee, and the Leaf King, that's right, the heroine of Hon Xiaoyao's father, the trainer of Chenghe Gym. I didn't expect to meet a celebrity here. Yu's aunt is the Kanto Kiku King. Lihua was afraid that Kyan Lee didn't know, so she explained on the side. King Kikuko. Kyan Lee, who was originally a little confused about who Yu's aunt was shocked when he heard Lihua's explanation, and then he was full of respect. The king with the longest reign in the alliance, Kikuko's name is well known everywhere. This was achieved by the failures of countless powerful trainers. What's more, Kyan Lee is from Johto, and he is even more impressed by the 4 kings of Kanto. The emotion in my heart also changed from doubt at the beginning to flattered. It turns out that King Kikuko also knows me. Kyan Lee. Sister Lihua, why are you here? Are you also participating in the Champions League? You have won the Johto Championship for 4 years. You didn't participate last time. Are you going to participate this time? Yu asked curiously. If Lihua participates, there will be more variables. Lihua, in the game, is the future Johto Dark King. Although the main worldview of this world is animation, and animation and games are very different. For example, in Alala, Kahiri, one of the 4 heavenly kings in the game, didn't even pass the preliminary round, but the similarity is still very high. Especially Lihua's strength. Yu knows it more or less. Because Lihua, who will be the Dark King in the future, is now the strongest trump card of the ghost type Jenga. And Lihua herself is one of the few Jenga trainers recognized by Kiku. Yeah, I didn't plan to come originally. After all, I haven't played enough. Being the 4 heavenly kings is too busy, but my stupid brother won the Johto championship this year and insisted on participating. I will accompany him to participate and play, and there is probably no hope. Lihua said indifferently. Yu looked at Lihua with 1,000 unbelief on his face. I just accompanied my friend to the interview. I didn't want to participate. This kind of words happened countless times in the previous life, and then the classic, the friend was not selected, the accompanying, was selected, and then became famous all the way. What are you here to play? It's all a lie. Sister, you are stupid. I'm very strong. My Bangalore is indestructible. Lihua's stupid little brother said unconvinced. Indestructible? Lihua stretched out 2 fingers indifferently and twisted them towards Lee K's ears. Suddenly, a pig-killing scream sounded. Yu shook his head. Silly child, don't you know that a girl who can't even unscrew the cap of a soda bottle outside can open her brother's skull at home? What's more, your sister, outside, I guess she can even carry a gas tank. Lihua, the number 1 sister of the Johto club. Yu wisely separated from Lihua and her brother and went to the hotel on the island that specially accommodated them as participants. As soon as he entered, he saw a table next to him where 2 young men sat together, one with red hair and the other with yellow hair. Originally, it was not surprising. But when he heard how they addressed each other, Yu's expression became subtle again. Densi, the future Fire King of Sinop, the future strongest gym trainer of Sinop. Chapter 171 Seeded Players. The contestants have registered one after another, and the information of the contestants can now be found on the official website. Suzerain Island, Contestant Village. Lily's slender fingers moved quickly on the keyboard, checking the information, while talking to Yu, dutifully interpreting the identity of an intelligence expert. Are they finally here? I don't know which round they can reach, Yu said with expectation in his eyes. No matter who the opponent is, Yu will be the best. Lily looked at Yu, her bright starry eyes full of trust. That's right. Yu nodded. Xiaoxu, who was holding Eevee, saw Yu's confidence and showed a half helpless and half pampering smile, but these were none of her business. Her responsibility was to take good care of Yu's Pokémon. The more the competition period, the more critical it is. The more grand the competition, the more people will play tricks. Over the years, it is not uncommon to give the opponent's Pokémon laxatives. After all, in this competition, every time a trainer advances a place, the honor and benefits that can be gained are beyond imagination. This is not to mention the profit from the gambling. In the previous life, betting on football matches could make people rich, or make them jump off buildings. The grandeur of the Pokémon Champions League is naturally incomparable to the football matches in the previous life. Every time the Champions League is held, the frequency of jumping off buildings in the world is the highest. The 3 of them talked and discussed intelligence. Time passed quickly. At noon, they went to the restaurant to eat together. But what was more helpless was that, because there were too many players and tourists who came to participate in the game, several restaurants were full. Yu wanted to pay, but there was no chance to book a VIP box. After a lot of effort, he arrived at a restaurant and Yu finally saw hope of having a meal. To be precise, he saw Professor Oak and another old man having dinner together. Yu took Lilia and Xiaoxu with him without thinking, and sat over and said, Grandpa Oak, I'm here to eat for free, do you mind? You little bastard, don't be disrespectful, call someone first. This is Professor Yamanashi from the Sinnoh region. He is no worse than me in academic research. Professor Oak said with a smile, and then introduced a serious old man with a blank expression and a majestic look. Hello, Professor Yamanashi, my name is Yu. They are my friends, Lilia and Xiaoxu. Yu saluted the old man. Professor Yamanashi is one of the few people in the academic world who can compare with Professor Oak, an expert in evolution. With his own efforts, he has researched the new evolution of a group of Pokémon such as Electabuzz, Charmeleon, and Tyrannosaurus. In the Kalos region, Professor Platano, who studies super evolution, is just his student. In the world, only Professor Oak and Professor Yamanashi can have a regional doctoral student. Dr. Yamanashi nodded expressionlessly. It was not that he had any opinion about Yu and the others, but he was born with a serious face. Lilia and Zayaksu sat in front of him, looking very uncomfortable and regretting sitting over, but Yu was very casual, not affected by Dr. Yamanashi's aura at all. Dr. Oak did not avoid Yu and the others, and talked about some academic topics with Dr. Yamanashi. Dr. Yamanashi was also very casual. As a doctor who distributes Pokémon to newcomers, he is also enthusiastic about the younger generation, and willing to provide help, but he is cold on the outside and warm on the inside. There is nothing he can do. After talking for a long time, the two stopped the discussion with a sense of unsatisfaction, preparing to find an opportunity to do research again. It's boring to just talk. Stopping the serious scientific discussion, Dr. Oak looked at Yu and said, Yu, are you ready for the competition? Don't be too bad. I won the championship the first time I participated in the Champions League. After the research is over, it's time to tease the little kid. Yes, I won the championship the first time I participated in the Champions League and defeated my aunt. Then the two of us have been entangled for a lifetime, and our relationship has not improved until now, Yu said. That's because I'm better than him. Professor Oak said. Although these glorious pasts were nothing to him, even if there was no record of trainers, his academic research would be enough to go down in history, but it was particularly interesting to say these in front of Yu. First time participating, and you won the championship? Lily and Zayaksu looked at Professor Oak in surprise. Although they knew that Professor Oak had Dragonite, which was hidden, they never thought that Professor Oak had such a glorious past. The champion of the Champions League is the regional champion. The peak that all trainers in a region look up to and cannot cross. Yes, he won the championship the first time, and then he had a complete fight with my great aunt. He had a small fight every 3 days and a big fight every 5 days. Finally, he retired and stopped studying Pokémon training techniques. He began to be surpassed by my great aunt, and then he was troubled by my great aunt. It took several years for him to calm down. Yu added a little more, and then looked at Professor Oak. Grandpa Oak, I have a question that I have always wanted to ask you. Why don't you stay with my great aunt? Hearing this question, Lily and Zayaksu, two people, 4 eyes fell on Professor Oak. Yu's great aunt, Grandma Kiku, actually has this kind of relationship with Professor Oak. The gossip factor in the hearts of the two girls was completely active. Beside Professor Oak, Dr. Yamanashi, who had always been expressionless and maintained the majesty of the iceberg, also melted a little at this time and looked at Dr. Oak curiously. He also wanted to know this question. The younger generation didn't know about this past, but the old people like them knew it clearly. It's just that Dr. Yamanashi is not a gossipy person. It's just that this kind of question is not easy to ask, but everyone has a little gossip in his heart. People are all the same, even regional doctors with many publications and great achievements are not immune to this. What nonsense are you talking about, you little brat? Play well for me. If you can't win the championship like me, I'll show you how I'll deal with you. Dr. Oak scolded Yu in a rare and embarrassed manner. He never thought that his boyhood love history would be revealed in front of 2 juniors. How did Yu know about this? Kiku would definitely not tell this. Could it be that the little brat Zayao said it quickly? Asshole, I was the one who arranged his marriage. Yu quickly lowered his head, as if he was admitting his mistake, but if you look carefully, you will know that Yu is laughing. He was really curious about this question, and couldn't help asking it this time. Just as expected, there was no answer. However, it is very exciting to tease Dr. Oak occasionally. Don't think you'll be fine if you bow your head. Play the game well. You're not even a seeded player in the game. Go out and don't say you know me. Professor Oak stared at Yu. If it was someone else, Yu might have fooled him, but how could Professor Oak, who watched Yu grow up, not see through Yu's movements? That's because I'm young, Grandpa Oak. You were already 20 when you participated in the Champions League. Yu said dissatisfiedly, and the quality of this class was too much. The players in the Champions League are very strong, and Yu has long known this. They recruit outstanding trainers from all over the world. Those who can participate in the competition have won championships in various regions. But Yu didn't expect that the players in this class were so outrageous. Just look at the players he has seen these days. Liha, Kyanli, Day, Densi, Catalaya. The future kings of 3 different regions. The future strongest gym trainers of 2 different regions. Those who haven't seen it don't know how strong they are. Like someone who is about to play in the game, but is still doing archaeology. Yu also knows the 4 seeded players of the competition. Sharona, Katala, Day, Wusang. If Yu had 10 years, no, 3 years, he could beat the other 3 except Sharona. But now, facing at least 3 heavenly kings, how could Yu win 3 against 3? Chapter 172 Unhappy Mutuo. Okay, we've almost finished eating. Come with me to meet a student. Professor Oak said. Who is your student who is going to be famous and will be included in the textbooks to burden the students? Yu said. You are just a talker. The person I want to meet this time is also our Kanto genius researcher, Sakuragi. If it is suitable, he can have his own research institute in SYNOPSIS as early as next year. If it is slow, he can also have his own research institute in Kanto, just a few years later. Professor Oak scolded with a bad smile. Yes, it is your student again. Speaking of which, you can play a better role as a researcher than as a trainer. You have trained so many excellent researchers. Yu said. Kanto Masaki, Joto Sora, and Joto Shiraki are all doctors with great reputations in their respective fields. Because being a trainer cannot change the world. No matter how strong a person's power is, he is just one person. It cannot save the alliance. But being a Pokémon doctor can. Professor Oak said with a confident smile on his face. Studying medicine can't save the new world. Yu said thoughtfully, and he suddenly understood why Professor Oak didn't become a trainer. Indeed, a champion, no matter how strong he is, can only influence a limited amount, but being a Pokémon doctor, especially a doctor in charge of rookie trainers, can influence too much. The trainers who set out from Pallet Town every year believe in the philosophy of Professor Oak, and the researchers taught by Professor Oak are also of the same lineage. The ideas may seem empty, but they are something that can really change the world. It's similar to what you said, so keep up the good work. What I haven't done may be handed over to you. Professor Oak said. Grandpa Oak, I'm still a child. Yu said solemnly. Haha, Dr. Oak laughed when he heard it. Yes, child. I'll take you to meet my students first. Maybe you will need him somewhere someday, and we can help each other. Okay. Yu nodded. It's never a bad thing to get to know a genius researcher. After everyone finished eating, they stood up. Zyaksu and Lilia were also very interested in the new researcher, but Dr. Yamanashi had something else to do, so he left first. Yu followed Dr. Oak and chatted along the way. The two of them always got along well. Compared with Dr. Oak and Xiaomao, they were actually more like grandfather and grandson. Drive Oak. When they walked to the dock, a voice came from the boat in the distance. Yu looked far away and saw a middle-aged man wearing large brown-rimmed glasses and looking elegant waving there. He guessed in his heart that it was probably him. His eyes subconsciously swept past the middle-aged man, a beautiful young woman, and 3 children. They looked like his children. That's right, the Champions League is suitable for the whole family to watch together. Sakuragi, you are finally here, with your family. Who is that? Dr. Oak greeted Sakuragi with a smile, and saw a child with dark skin and asked curiously. He knew all the family members of Sakuragi very well. When did a child suddenly appear? His name is Xiaoheo. He is a classmate of my daughter Xiaochan. I brought him here when I was free. He also participated in the summer camp you held when he was a child. Dr. Sakuragi explained. Oh, he is the child who suspected that he met Mew with your daughter at that time. Dr. Oak suddenly realized. He held a summer camp every year to take care of children from all over the world. He usually couldn't remember ordinary ones, but he really had some impression of this one. After all, it was a child who might meet Mew. Yes, Dr. Oak, it's me. Ever since I was saved by Mew in your summer camp, I wanted to capture Mew. The somewhat black child took the initiative to say. Conquer Mew? It's a good idea. Do you have any Pokémon now? Which one of them will you choose? Charmander. Dr. Oak smiled and praised. I don't have any Pokémon yet. My first Pokémon should be Mew. Zairoheo said. You don't have Pokémon, but you want to capture Mew? Dr. Oak looked strange. This child seemed to be a little whimsical. Yu was listening on the side. The corner of his mouth twitched. I was wondering why. When I heard about Dr. Sakuragi just now, it sounded familiar. It turned out to be the doctor on the journey. As for this Zairoheo, who caught the dream without the ball, it can be confirmed that he is the screenwriter's biological father. He used the red and white balls as master balls and single-handedly shattered the original worldview of Pokémon for 20 years. This is Yu, who can barely be considered half of my student. He just won the championship of the Quartz Conference last year, and is a player participating in the Champions League this time. Dr. Oak introduced to Dr. Sakuragi. Hello. Yu nodded. I also watched the conference that time. My son Sota liked it very much. He said he wanted to become a trainer like you. If it's convenient, can you give me your autograph? Dr. Sakuragi smiled. Of course, no problem. Yu looked at the youngest son next to Dr. Sakuragi, who looked about 6 or 7 years old. He seemed to be a little embarrassed because he heard his father asking for an autograph for him, and his little face was slightly red. Study hard from your father. Your father is an excellent researcher. You need to learn enough knowledge from him before you can become a better trainer. I look forward to your performance, Yu said. Oh. Hearing the encouragement from his idol, Sota nodded his head. I will study hard, and the Champions League will also cheer for you. Thank you. Yu smiled slightly. He didn't expect that he would have a little fanboy. Okay, it's good that everyone knows each other. Let's talk in detail when we return to the player village. Professor Oak said to Professor Sakuragi. Professor Sakuragi nodded, and everyone walked towards the player village together. After entering the yard, a superpower surged, and Mewtwo appeared out of thin air. Professor Sakuragi and others were startled, and looked at the newly appeared Mewtwo curiously, wondering what kind of Pokémon this was. Mewtwo looked at the group of people with a slightly unhappy expression, as if he disliked why there were so many people. But he didn't care much, and looked directly at Yu and said, I'm hungry. Surf. Okay, your food is ready. Yu said, no one can let you go hungry. Among all the Pokémon's food, Mewtwo is the first to be prepared. Mewtwo nodded and prepared to eat. At this time, Zairoheo suddenly rushed out and said, the aura on your body is very similar to that of Mew. What is your relationship with Mew? Hearing this, Mewtwo's face immediately turned cold. Mewtwo, calm down. Yu said hurriedly. Mewtwo glanced at Yu and said, eat. Yu nodded and prepared to eat, not wanting to cause trouble out of thin air. Zairoheo took out another machine to detect it at this time, and found that there was indeed a reaction. He said excitedly, yes, it is the energy reaction of Mew. Your name is Mewtwo, and you must be related to Mew. Mewtwo had a cold face, did not speak, and did not make a move. He had been following Yu for a long time, read a lot of books, and his temper had improved a lot. Although he cared about his origin, he did not want to take action immediately. So, I decided that I would conquer you first. Be my Pokémon. Zairoheo took out a Pokéball from somewhere and threw it at Mewtwo. Mewtwo's expression became completely gloomy, and blue light burst out of his eyes. The Pokéball exploded directly, and terrifying superpowers burst out from Mewtwo. Human, am I giving you too much face? The superpower burst out and killed Zairoheo. Zairoheo's body trembled, and before he could even scream, he fell heavily against the wall. The wall collapsed, and the soil fell on him. He was not sure whether he was alive or dead. Chapter 173 Meeting Gladian. Idiot. Yu couldn't help but curse in a low voice. He wanted to capture Mewtwo before he even saw the strength of the enemy and us clearly. Or Mewtwo, if you want to die, don't come to harm me. During the Champions League, Trainers Pokémon will be punished for wantonly attacking and injuring people. If it causes death, even you will be in trouble. After cursing a few times in a bad mood, Yu suddenly thought of something and looked at Mewtwo and said, "Mewtwo, are you my Pokémon? Do you want to die too?" Mewtwo said, "Am I giving you too much face? No, I just want to confirm your mood. Be happy. There are always some scum in this world. Happiness is the most important thing. If you don't feel relieved, beat them up again." Yu suddenly laughed. Mewtwo is not his Pokémon, so all its behaviors have nothing to do with him. Then the current behavior is that a trainer who overestimates his own ability wants to capture wild Pokémon and then is beaten seriously. What does it have to do with me? Is it my fault that wild Pokémon appeared in my yard? Or is it that if someone else fails to capture a child, can't I just go for the emotional route? None of this makes sense, so why panic? As for Zioheo, I don't even know him, so what does it have to do with me? Besides, is your brain not working? Didn't you see that he knows me? He wants to capture a child without even asking if there are any trainers. Add to that the performance of the animation that made Yu completely quit, and it's immoral to say that it's best if he dies. Where's the food? Mewtwo said. It's ready. Zyadaxu will help. Yu said. Zyadaxu understood and immediately took Mewtwo to eat. Don't just stand there, see if the one inside is dead. Yu looked at Dr. Sakuragi and said, "Yes." Dr. Sakuragi finally reacted and hurried over to dig up the soil, stones, and bricks. Although he was a little angry about Zioheo's recklessness, he was the one who brought him up after all, and he was still a child. If he really died, it would be troublesome. The soil and stones were dug up, and Zioheo's body appeared. He fell into a coma, with blood on his head, but his chest was still heaving. Dr. Sakuragi was greatly relieved. As long as he was alive, he could still be saved. He quickly dialed for help. Not long after, a Jigglypuff came over and gave preliminary treatment. After all, Suzerain Island is not big, and for the Champions League, doctors from various regions were recruited to come, and Mewtwo's action was a bit loud. So rescue and security arrived at the scene at the same time. What happened here? Miss Junsha, who came to maintain law and order, asked. There was an accident. The one who was carried away wanted to capture wild Pokémon, but he failed to capture it, and was beaten instead. This is the specific situation. Yu said. Failed to capture, but was attacked instead? Are there still wild Pokémon near Suzerain Island? Miss Junsha asked in confusion. Suzerain Island has frequent human activities and there are few wild Pokémon. Yes, the general situation is similar to what Yu said. Dr. Oak said. Okay, you guys be careful, we will soon fill this wall. After getting Dr. Oak's affirmation, Miss Junsha quickly believed it. After all, Dr. Oak's reputation is well known all over the world, especially in the 4 regions of Kanto, Johto, Hone, and Sinnoh, where he is a first-class celebrity. The celebrity effect is the same everywhere. After sending Miss Junsha away, Dr. Oak looked at Dr. Sakuragi's family and said, "Don't be shy, nothing will happen. Mewtwo is not a very bad Pokémon." Dr. Sakuragi's family nodded, but they were a little bit unconvinced by what they saw just now. It's very good. Its power is enough to destroy this place. For now, there is no Pokémon or power here that can fight it. Now it's just attacking someone who took the initiative to attack it, and it hasn't even died yet. It's already very restrained. Yu said this, looking at the direction of Mewtwo inside, with a gratified expression on his face. I also cultivated it. Although I'm not its trainer, most of Mewtwo's values were taught by me. That's true. Lilia nodded, thinking of the first time they met. Mewtwo wanted to cripple the 3 of them directly, and now just waving his hand, it's already very rational. Although Yu and Lilia said this, Dr. Sakuragi's family still didn't believe it, but Yu didn't care. Anyway, whether Mewtwo is good or not, he just knows it. There is no need for others to comment on it. They went back to their own places. When Yu and Zyrozu came back, Mewtwo was gone, and only Zyrozu was left. Have you finished eating? Yu said. Yeah, but I'm still in a bad mood. I don't know if anything will happen if I go out, Zyrozu said worriedly. With Mewtwo's power and the power of the psychic type, there shouldn't be anyone or Pokémon here who can hurt it. As for others, Mewtwo has been much better tempered recently. If you don't provoke it, it won't attack. If it really attacks, no one will die. If no one dies, I can take care of it. Yu said. You really care about Mewtwo? Zyuzu said. It's normal. Yu said. There's one more thing. Yu, can I ask you a question? Zyuzu said hesitantly. Ask. There's nothing to hide between us. Yu said. Do you know the person called Zyuheo? Zyuzu said. Why do you ask that? Yu said. Because I feel that you don't like him very much. When he was beaten up by Mewtwo, if it were an ordinary person, you would at least be worried. But I feel that you were quite happy when Zyuheo was injured. Zyuxu said. Really? Lily said after realizing it. Yu glanced at Zyuxu. This is also the difference between the two girls. Although Lily is careful, she is a rich girl after all, so she is not so focused on many things. Zyuxu was born in an orphanage, so she is a little sensitive in observing people's words and expressions. After thinking about it, he nodded affirmatively and said, yes, I don't like Zyuheo very much. You can also say that I hate him. As for the reason, you can also roughly guess it. He captures Pokémon randomly, just like treating tools. Thinking of Zyuheo's behavior just now, Lily and Zyuxu showed disgust on their faces. Such behavior is very wrong. Okay, relax. Don't waste your thoughts on outsiders. The opening ceremony will be the day after tomorrow. At that time, you can see the big movie I wrote. Yu said. President Damalanki thought the same as him and gave in decisively. After watching the movie and deciding that there were no particularly anti-human plots, he agreed to broadcast it. For the sake of perfection, Yu asked all 3 members of Team Rocket to leave. He even promised Musashi that, as long as he did a good job, he would pay for Musashi to make a movie and fulfill his dream of becoming a star. Musashi knelt down at that time, hugged Yuyu's thigh and swore that there would be absolutely no accidents. So Yuyu believed it very much. Is it the story written by Yuyu? Lily asked curiously. Yes, I wrote the main story outline, Yuyu said. Especially the setting of the villain. He went through a lot of considerations, both to make Giratina happy and not to offend other first level beasts such as Dialga too much. Then I look forward to the opening ceremony even more. I just don't know if my white roller can be hatched in advance. If it is hatched, we can watch it together. Lily looked at the Alola Vulpix Pokémon egg on the side with love. It will also evolve soon. If you can't watch the live broadcast, you can watch the replay. And if it's well filmed, I guess I'll have to continue filming. Yu said. Jenga was still thinking about another one. That's good. It's better to film one for my Gun as well. Lily held Gun's egg, and the Pokémon egg also shook gently a few times at this time, as if to cater to it. Huh. It's cooperating. It looks like it's really going to hatch soon. Yu smiled. Lily also noticed this, and all her attention was on the Vulpix egg, overjoyed, looking forward to the arrival of new life. Okay, let's go out for a walk. When the game starts, I won't have much time to accompany you. Take advantage of it now. Let's go shopping. Yu said. It's only afternoon now. How boring it would be to stay in the room. Zyuxu and Lily naturally had no objection. In fact, most girls are not opposed to shopping. They walked around the venue together, looking at all kinds of fresh and interesting things, especially many foods and handicrafts unique to SYNOPSIS. Yu and the other 2 felt that they were eye-opening. The only bad thing is that Lily and Zyuxu, one of them originally had money from their family, and the other was hired by the Kyojin family with a high salary, so they went shopping. And when women buy things, it is natural that men carry the bags. Fortunately, there was the all-purpose tool Dragonite, who, under the temptation of a buffet, naively acted as a tool dragon to carry the bag. After walking around for an afternoon, it was almost dusk when they were ready to find a restaurant to eat. But they hadn't found one yet, and unexpectedly saw someone doing a Pokémon duel. With a gossipy mentality, Yu consciously went over. Maybe he could see the opponent of the competition. Walking forward, he saw a turtles fighting against a Pokémon that he had never seen before, with a wooden helmet on its head. Yu looked at the Pokémon with a wooden helmet on its head with a strange expression. It seemed that there was only one Pokémon like this. Sure enough, before Yu asked, Lily next to him said in surprise, "Brother Gladian." Chapter 174 Shinji. Gladian, who was in the game, also noticed Lily, and a gentle smile appeared on his cold face, but before he could answer, the trainer on the opposite side shouted mercilessly, "Tootsie, Leaf Storm." Tootsie roared in a low voice, and the grass energy on its shell surged, forming countless leaves, turning into a storm, and hitting Silver Companion. Silver Companion was unable to dodge, and was hit directly, retreating repeatedly. Distracted in the battle, third-rate trainer, with your strength, no wonder you are obsessed with boring bonds. Gladian's opponent looked at Gladian with contempt and said, "You abandoned your Pokémon, because it lost the Pokémon. This behavior is not worthy of being a trainer. Pokémon are not tools of trainers, but partners of trainers." Gladian said to the trainer on the opposite side, "This is just a stupid belief of you boring guys. Losers are not worthy of following me." Gladian's opponent said, "As trainers, what we should do is to train Pokémon to be stronger, not to pick up ready-made ones. Those who are naturally gifted and can train themselves can become stronger with or without you. So what's the use of you?" Gladian retorted. "What nonsense. Tortoise, crazy plant." Gladian's opponent shouted. Tortoise supported itself on the ground with its limbs, and a terrifying grass-type power flowed from its body along its limbs into the ground below. The ground cracked, and countless thick vines drilled out from the ground, whipping Silver Companion with great force. "You don't understand what I said, so I can only use my strength to let you know." Gladian's expression was serious and sacred. "Remove the seal and return to yourself, the shining holy beast, Silver Companion." Silver Companion roared, and the wooden helmet on its head completely broke, revealing its original appearance. Then it jumped up with all its strength, and the mechanical ears in its head changed, revealing a place to store optical discs. Gladian seized the opportunity and threw a disc in, saying, "Freeze everything with the coldest frost." Silver Companion. The disc entered Silver Companion's body, and Silver Companion's head glowed and turned silver white. "What?" Gladian's opponent showed a surprised expression. "Changing attributes freely during a battle? What kind of Pokémon is this? I've never seen it before, and is it so strong?" "Right now, Silver Companion, multi-attribute attack." Gladian shouted. Silver Companion jumped up, a halo appeared on its claws, and with a fierce swing, a group of cold ice energy condensed and burst out, and the temperature around it dropped suddenly. "Turtle, crazy plant power change." Gladian's opponent shouted. Turtle has both grass and ground attributes, and they are all restrained by ice attributes. If it withstands this move, Turtle will instantly lose its combat effectiveness. The grass power on Turtle's body surged, and the vines on the ground changed, entwined with each other, and turned into a solid barrier, blocking in front of it. Crazy plants are extremely powerful. After using them, most Pokémon will be in a state of temporary stiffness and unable to move. However, powerful Pokémon can make the crazy plant's special move last longer than the stiffness time, and use vines to continuously attack and defend. The ice vines attacked each other, and finally exploded into a powerful energy wave. The vines were frozen by the ice, shattered into pieces, and splashed around. "Jenga, come out and help." Yu's face suddenly changed. These vines frozen by the Silver Companion War Beast with ice power are harder than stone bricks. If the energy explodes and flies around, it will be like turning around in the sky. Although the crowd here is not very dense, it is not very sparse. If it explodes, innocent people will definitely be hurt. Hurting innocent people at this time is a serious crime. Even if Gladian is still young and his family is rich, it is of little use at this time. After all, this is not a lava. You can ignore Gladian's opponent, but Gladian cannot. As soon as Jenga came out, it understood immediately, and the powerful ghost power swarmed, covering hundreds of square meters in an instant, and controlled all the ice vines with energy, to prevent them from exploding. Silver Companion War Beast and Tute Tortoise were fighting fiercely, and suddenly a third party appeared. They instinctively showed rejection of Jenga, and looked at Jenga with caution. But Jenga didn't indulge them at all. He stretched out his hands, and pressed down with two huge palms formed by ghost energy. The two Pokémon tried their best to resist, but their arms couldn't twist their thighs. They were all pressed down by Jenga's Pokémon and pressed to the ground, unable to move. Gladian and his opponent looked at the sudden appearance of Jenga in surprise at the same time. Even if their Pokémon's physical strength was damaged, and their strength decreased due to the previous battle, not all Pokémon could suppress it, let alone suppress two at the same time. Not to mention, using ghost power to control the ice-wrapped vines without exploding, completely controlling them. This ability, none of their Pokémon could do. Yu. Gladian looked at Yu and said with a serious expression. Although he had heard his mother say that Yu was very powerful, he didn't expect that he would be so powerful. This Jenga was so strong that he really didn't want to talk. Genji, stop playing. Use Shadow Ball to explode everything and then throw it into the sky, Yu said. Jenga immediately understood, and the ghost power in his hand surged, turning into a dark energy ball to wrap up all the ice vines, and then flew into the sky with the ghost and the ball, and then threw it into the sky fiercely. With a bang, everything exploded, but it just turned into fine powder and fell down, and it would not cause any more damage. Seeing this, Yu breathed a sigh of relief, looking at the two people and said, now continue. Just control the power, or change places to fight. Your name is Yu? Gladian's opponent looked at Yu and said, he just heard Gladian calling Yu's name. Yes, my name is Yu. What about you? Yu looked at Gladian's opponent and said in a slightly unfriendly tone. From the conversation between him and Gladian just now, Yu also guessed some of the whole story, and he didn't have a good impression of this trainer. As a decent trainer, he couldn't stand the behavior of casually discarding Pokémon. It's not a problem to not capture a Pokémon you don't like. On the contrary, it's a sign of maturity. After all, capturing Pokémon is a very important thing, and you have to be responsible for it. Or if you just capture it and then let it go, there's nothing to say. After all, there's no emotion. But you capture it and then let the other party fight for you, and because the battle fails, you abandon it anywhere. Let it stay away from the place where it once lived and then live in an unknown future. You really can't agree with such behavior, and the tortoise plus this behavior makes you easily think of someone. Shinji, Gladian's opponent said coldly. Sure enough. Yu nodded inwardly. He was Ash's greatest rival in SYNOPSIS. He was known for his ruthlessness and was a completely opposite type of trainer to Ash. He didn't care about the bond between trainers and Pokémon at all. He pursued the survival of the fittest. Once a Pokémon in his team failed in a battle, he would abandon it and switch to capture other Pokémon. When catching, he would catch more than a dozen of the same kind and then screen them to see what special moves he had learned and then choose one. He was called the representative of game players. He would arrange various tactics and then strictly implement them. He was considered a very good trainer. But Yu really didn't like this style. After all, reality is not a game, and Pokémon is not a bunch of data codes. The behavior of discarding cats and dogs at will in the previous life was already very bad, and discarding Pokémon here is dozens of times worse. Chapter 175 Gladian's Challenge. Shinji looked at Yu and Jenga seriously, then took back the tortoise on the ground and left without saying anything. This person is so weird. Lily said. Strange, yes. I don't agree with his Pokémon training methods, but he is really amazing. Yu said. No matter how good he is at training Pokémon, he has a bad character and abandons his companions at will. Gladian said this satisfiedly. Brother, what's going on? Lily looked at Gladian strangely. I came from Alola to find you and see if there is any news about my father. Then I met this person and a trainer in a 3-on-3 game. As a result, one of his armors was defeated, so he abandoned the armor. I couldn't stand it and argued with him, so we fought. Prove everything with strength. Gladian said. Abandoning Pokémon after losing the Pokémon competition. This is too much. Lily opened her mouth in surprise. That's why there are so many different kinds of people in this world. For us, Pokémon are companions and family, but for some people, they are just pets, and for Shinji, they are more profitable, and are just tools. Yu said. Such people should not be trainers. Gladian said. It's because there are so many people here, otherwise brother Gladian would have won just now. Lilia said. Hearing Lilia's encouragement, Gladian's expression did not change, but there was a clear expression of joy in the corners of his eyes. Yu smiled at the side and said that people should be objective. We cannot deny a person's strength just because of his character. There is no relationship between character and strength. In a one-on-one match between Shinji and Gladian, Gladian's winning rate is about 70%. After all, although the Silver Companion Battle Beast is man-made, it is also the qualification of a third-level Divine Beast. In addition, Shinji has never come into contact with Z moves, so he is basically going to lose. But if it's 3-3, the winning rate will drop to 60%. 6-6, it may drop to 40%. Of course, it's not a good time to say this. And Gladian doesn't have 6 Pokémon, so theoretically, he won't lose. But, Xiaoheo in the morning, Shinji in the afternoon, and maybe Zod will come tomorrow, calling all the most annoying guys in Pokémon. Is there a room to stay here? If it's convenient, just live with us. Yu looked at Gladian and said. Gladian didn't answer, but stared at Yu for a long time, which made Yu feel a little uncomfortable, and then said, would it be convenient for you to have a Pokémon duel with me? Duel? Yu was slightly stunned. Why did he suddenly want to fight me? I have no grudges against you. Brother, the opening ceremony will be the day after tomorrow, and then Yu will have a competition. He has to preserve his Pokémon strength. Lilia said. The opening ceremony will be the day after tomorrow, and the competition will be the day after tomorrow at the earliest. If we only have one game, the loss should not be too big, and we can recover. Gladian said. Although he felt that Yu's Jenga's strength was very strong after seeing it, he still wanted to fight to see how big the gap was. Okay, I can have a fight too. Yu thought about it and agreed. It was not bad. He could feel the power of the Silver Companion Beast. And with Miss Joy's ability, as long as the injury is not particularly serious, she can recover quickly. Not to mention, it's the first battle, only 3 are needed. Okay, come on. Gladian said. If you continue to fight here, you are not afraid of what happened just now. Go to the arena next door. Yu said. Because there are only 3 in the preliminary round, and the trainers who can come here all have 6. So at this time, many trainers will go to the nearby arena to fight to a certain extent, stabilize the state of Pokémon, or hone the second army. Gladian nodded and followed Yu to the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anything I can help you with? The front desk looked at Yu and the others enthusiastically and said that they could make a lot of money by renting venues these days. Is there any empty venue that can be used for us to fight Pokémon? Yu said. Sir, please wait a moment. I'll check. Because of the Champions League, we have a limited number of venues here. Now only VIP venue number 3 is vacant. Do you think it's okay? Although our venue number 3 is a bit expensive, it has complete facilities and first-class defense capabilities. It can withstand all kinds of special attacks. The receptionist said. Do you say this to every customer who comes here, and only the VIP venue is left? Yu looked at the receptionist with interest. No, I'm absolutely telling the truth. The receptionist said. Okay, then do it. By the way, we don't have to compensate for the damage during our battle. Yu took out his bank card and said. Don't worry about this. We will be responsible for all the losses you cause. Moreover, venue number 3 has complete facilities and is sufficient to bear all battles. Also, sir, do you need to fight frequently? If you need to, you can get an annual membership. This way, it will be cheaper to use the venue, and we will reserve a venue for you every day. And if there is no suitable opponent, our arena can arrange it. The receptionist took the black card from Yu enthusiastically, with a gleam in her eyes. Rich. Then can I lend my membership to someone else? Yu asked. Sure. The receptionist said. Then do it. Yu said. Guzma has been here every day recently, so why not get him one? There are also Kajero and the other 2, so let them come here to practice sometime. Their fighting strength is too weak. Okay. The receptionist was enthusiastic, and after receiving the commission, she went through the formalities for Yu. After that, the next action was even faster, and Yu didn't need to prepare anything at all. Everything was ready. The only drawback was that there were still some spectators watching on the second floor. However, Yu and Gladian didn't care much, and they didn't need a referee when they took action on their own. Gladian was the first to release a Pokémon, and a red light flashed, and a werewolf with blood red hair appeared in front of Yu, with a bloodthirsty breath in his blood red eyes. The night form of Lycanthropus. Yu's eyes moved slightly. It was strange that Lycanthropus was divided into two forms, day and night. However, the day form of Lycanthropus looked like a wolf that walked on four legs, and it was not a werewolf at all. The night form of Lycanthropus was a werewolf, but it did not have a Lycanthropus. Hey, Lycanthropus, so handsome, where is the Pokémon? On the second floor, Day, who was a little tired after warming up with Densey, said. The main point is that the boy down there is a champion of the Quartz Conference, and one of our opponents this time. Densey said unhappily. Really? But he looks only 11 years old, so he shouldn't be a big threat. Day said. Densey smiled and didn't say anything, obviously agreeing with the former. Don't you need the Silver Companion War Beast? Yu asked. The Silver Companion War Beast is a little tired and not suitable for frequent combat. Lycanthropus is enough, and it is also very strong. Gladian said. Okay, rock type, then Raichu, come out. Yu threw the Pokeball, and the cute Raichu jumped out. Raichu, Kanto style? That should be pure electric. Gladian nodded. It was easier than expected without psychic attributes. Lycanthrope, sword dance. Yu's strength was too shocking. Gladian instinctively chose to strengthen himself first. Lycanthrope, the aura on his body changed, and his physique became strong. Raichu, electric field. Yu said. Thunder Raichu's cheeks were red and the electric bags were shining with electric light. A terrifying electric current spread from his body, instantly covering the entire field. The electric light spread, and the entire battlefield was covered with electric current. Electric field, what kind of trick is it? Day said with a strange look on his face. I don't know, but the electric current covers the entire field. In theory, if this is the case, the power of the electric trick should be stronger. Densey roughly judged, his eyes bright. Although he had never seen it, he could feel that this trick was very suitable for electric Pokémon. Sword dance. Gladian was slightly stunned, a little surprised that Kanto Raichu could also use the electric field, but knowing the electric field, the duration is limited, just like the weather trick, so just drag it out, and then the sword dance will be improved. If you do the sword dance 3 times, Gladian can kill you except the king. Electric ball, cut it off. Yu shouted. Electricity flashed on Raichu's body, and a huge yellow electric ball quickly condensed at the tip of its tail. The current was crisscrossed and quickly hit the main rock wolf. The current spread, and the main rock wolf's muscles were slightly paralyzed. The body was frustrated and fell to one side, and the sword dance was forced to stop. Do you really think I'm stupid? I asked you to sword dance 3 times, and I still played a ball? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.